The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from Avondale, Arizona, the United Sim Racing drivers unload for their fourth week of Truck Series action and for the first race at a track that's under 1.5 miles so long this year. So far for tonight's Subway Fresh Fit 250. Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to this presentation of LSRTV at iRacing Live from the Phoenix International Raceway for our continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. Happy to be topside with you, as always. Myself, Evan Pasoko, going to be joined alongside in just a moment by Gabe Wood back with us in the broadcast booth, and as always, downstairs, the lovely and talented Cisco Scaramuza pushing the buttons and bringing us to you here this evening. As noted, it is the fourth race on this championship, and we're not going to be talking championship till at least round number 21 as we prepare to embark, as you saw last year, on a 10-race chase for the championship. But even with that being said, these early races in this title fight, without a doubt, could be of the utmost importance, and we really haven't seen any driver here or there. It's made it very difficult to point to somebody who's going to run away with this one. And if you look back to the start of what we saw 1 year ago, it wasn't necessarily that exact same story. But so far, through the opening 3 weeks of this championship, we've seen 3 different drivers go to USR victory lane. Riley Thompson got the job done a couple of weeks ago in Daytona. The last 2 weeks at 2 intermediate racetracks, Atlanta to Ashton Crowder. Justin Michael took home the win in Las Vegas just 1 week ago today, which brings us to Phoenix, which is a short track. It really isn't a short track, but it's about as close as we'll get here at about a mile in length. Like Bristol come to mind in the regular season, but there aren't a whole lot of these kind of races on this calendar. So these guys who are looking forward to this track have to get everything they can. And also, something that I find particularly interesting to note, Gabe, is that this is not the only time that we are going to see Phoenix on this calendar. A lot of series that we see don't do multiple trips to racetracks, but not only is Phoenix here, and if you look at the overall spectrum of things, and as I said, sure, these opening races are important in the points, it is not a dire straits race here tonight, with still 16 races after this to go until we cut drivers down to the chase grid. But we will see Phoenix again in the elimination race of the second to last round of this championship, and it's the penultimate race on the year. So if you're good here tonight, that could mean good news for you down the line if you're able to keep yourself in that championship picture when it comes down to it.
Yeah, it's actually a very good opportunity, Evan, for drivers. You know, if they don't have that good of a car here this weekend, just run as many of the laps as you can, run in the back, run wherever you feel comfortable, log some laps, get ready for the rest of the season, because, like you said, we will come back here and we will, haven't done this in a little while. We will be back here, and that'll give a lot of these guys opportunities, the drivers who did not complete all the laps here in the race tonight.
Is going to be a relatively long one as well here in tonight's contest. 156 laps at this 1 mile racetrack. It is going to be, though, the Phoenix Fresh Fit 250, if you will, the total kilometer distance when you're talking about going to the end of this one, but 156 laps, 156 miles as the night goes on. The drivers right now just wrapping up their 10-minute qualifying session, as it always is in USR Truck Series competition. It is a 2-lap and single truck runs one at a time. Best lap of those two is going to set up how they sit into this. Let's talk about the championship championship standings, though, through those opening 3 races, it is Riley Thompson, the driver who has led every single week after the win in the season opener at Daytona. Sitting right now just 4 points ahead of another race winner, Ashton Crowder. Jamie Walker, not surprisingly, the highest driver up there without a win, though, so far. Third at a points, 8 points back. Other guys in the top 10, Greg Mull, Scott Simley, top 5, and then Robert Gillenwater, Justin DeMichael, Joshua Susie, Michael Atkins Jr., and Keith Budd round through the top 10 to this point. But again, things are still early on, but as we continue to step on week by week by week from this point on into the rest of this season, we're really going to start to have to pay more and more attention week by week at that championship standings and kind of see, even if you don't get that truck in victory lane, just how consistent are you on that day-to-day basis, and if that may be enough to get you onto that championship grid when it comes down to things and when really this thing gets down to crunch time. But that, though, the qualifying session is drawn to a close. We're ready to go green flag racing tonight from Avondale, Arizona. We go trackside to take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid. Pole position belongs to Ashton Crowder. He gets what's going to be his second pole on the year with a 27-32. Qualifies on pole. Ricky Howell Jr.'s 27-3 was good enough to put him on the outside of the front row. The number 18 will start in second. Scott Simley and Scott Howell going to make up row number 2, third and fourth position. Just behind them, Aaron Bennett and Greg Ball back on row number 3 in fifth and sixth position. Row 8 going to be Jamie Walker and Bobby Terrell. Rounding out your top 10 back on row 5 in ninth position is Dwayne Dunn, and Joshua Susie is in 10th. Robert Gillenwater going to be 11th position tonight. Brian Harvey will be in 12th spot. The unlucky number 13 tonight goes to Christopher Hurlow, with Steve Ritter starting 14th, Louis Robinette 15th, and James Nunn in 16th position. Justin Michael, Riley Thompson, Jeff Ryan, Shane Hother going to round out the top 20. Only one other driver qualifies on the lead lap. That is P21, Justin Cleaver. The drivers who take provisional times tonight: Randy Tesser in 22nd, Seth Fowley 23rd, Michael Atkins 24th, and Michael Priester in 25th position. Brian Cutts 26th, Michael Warren 27th, with Ralph Vander Voorsting in the number 28 spot. Stephen Herring 29th, and Todd Kirkwood shotgun on the field here tonight will roll from the 30th position. The field going to get set to roll off to the back straightaway as we get set to get underway. We talk about this Phoenix International Raceway. It is a dogleg oval. Its official classification, it is a 1 mile asphalt oval with 4 turns. Turns 1 and 2 banked at 10 to 11 degrees. The dogleg is not classified as a turn in and of itself. For some reason, that's also 10 to 11 degrees. And then down at the far end of the racetrack, turns 3 and 4, 8 to 9 degrees of banking. There is also, to note, just a little bit of banking on the front stretch at 3 degrees. It is, if you look at it from above, what appears to be a triangle, but we are going to go with 4 turns here tonight at PIR. The lights are off on top of the pace car, and again, as we said, this is one of the few short track races we see, and a lot of the times when you see people come out to PIR here on the sim, at night, they got the lights on and things are cooled down. Not the case here tonight. Gonna have to deal with an 84-degree track. We'll see if that maybe plays effect into things at all in this one. But you see your race leader going to bring us to the green flag as the pace car dives down and away. Ashton Crowder collects the American Ethanol green flag, and we are underway. And we'll check him up in the back of the pack and try to re-rack some of them. We'll slow him down with a couple of drivers stuck on the pit lane. So Ashton Crowder, he'll get the bonus point. He doesn't care. We'll check it up at lap number 1. Technically underway here tonight, but under caution. They were single file, if you note. Obviously, coming out of turns 3 and 4 for the restart. I think a couple of guys at the back of the pack were having issues getting onto the track. I know we noted Ricky Howell Jr. was supposed to start in second position. He is actually still down on the pit lane and in his box. He did not go out with everybody else, and then they obviously went green in the single file line. So you do see the American Childhood Cancer Organization Ford Mustang GT pace car catch up to him, bring it around, pick him back up, and we will get another opportunity to get things underway here. And it sounds like a couple of guys at the back end of the pack having issues under the caution.
Yeah, Evan, it looks like everybody kind of bunched up, letting the pace car by, and it looked like a couple of trucks here in the back of the pack ended up getting into each other.
and taking a look to see if I can get another look at that one. It was right off when they went into turn number 3, and it looks like it was the 56 was one of the cars. Riley Thompson just noted the driver into tonight as a one-time race winner and as your championship leader. Just tapped the back of the 16, but he checked it up in time, and then the 75 machine in front, obviously that was James Nunn, had to jam on the brakes, and Thompson got into him, and those two cars going to have damage. That's a tough break, especially for, obviously, Riley Thompson, who entered tonight at the top of the championship standings, but even maybe more so for James Nunn, who is not in as good of a position and comes into tonight 29th in the points, getting damage this early on. Definitely, I don't think any inside, rather, of anybody's games plan tonight. But nonetheless, again, the caution flag did not come out for contact. The contact actually happened under the caution flag, Gabe, which was quite interesting. And we will see, I guess, if those guys want to duck off to the pit lane and get damage repairs. I would assume they plan on doing so as we see a couple of guys trickle in from the back.
A couple of guys going to take the early opportunity. Still a long race, a long way to go, but you can never go too wrong with early tires. And really these guys back in the pack that did get a little contact, they're going to want to get on pit road, get as much as that as fixed as possible. But the cars are just not going to drive the same. So the 75, 56, all those guys, their night may be over with before it really even got started.
If you got back-end damage, you might be okay, but front-end damage is something that is really difficult to... I mean, you can get the cosmetic parts of it fixed, but you're going to have all sorts of engine issues over the course of the night. And again, sometimes that leads to issues that you just can't get fixed. You can sit down onto the pit lane, get as much damage repaired as iRacing will allow you. It might not work out for you when it is all said and done. I think if any good news for these guys is as they come down to the stall, is that maybe that it's early on in this race and they can have several opportunities to continue to come down to the pit lane and get those cars worked on. But other than that, I don't really think there's many positives that you can draw from getting into an incident this early on in the race. However, the lights are off on top of the base car, so we are going to get set to go back into green flag racing conditions. And it looks like that the pace car is going to try to send the race leaders around one lap, so it might be tight for these guys to cycle back through, catch up behind the pace car, and actually get set for the restart as these guys still try to get themselves sorted out here. You can see they waved around him off at 1. They will delay the restart one more time around this time. Light's going to go back on top of the pace car. Your race leaders did catch up, at least Ashton Crowder would have been relatively there, but the issue is it did wave all 29 trucks around the field, which means that obviously guys at the back were going to be nowhere near the bumper of the Ford Mustang. And now we're kind of back where we started. Ashton Crowder on the front straightaway. Now 5 laps complete. Again, we did take the green flag, but really didn't go green. And then the kind of chaos continued to compound itself with the contact at the backstretch under the yellow. But it looks like we have found the pace car this time. The lights are off on top, coming out of turns 1 and 2, and your race leader is getting set to line them up and go back under green flag racing conditions. But again, technically, just get things started here tonight from Phoenix International Raceway. Looks like the light's going to go back on top for one more instant. So as they try to get these guys doubled up at the front of the field, we'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. Plenty more to come as we get set to get tonight's Phoenix Fresh Fit 250 underway. You're watching the USR Truck Series on LSRTV and iRacing Live.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Back live from Phoenix International Raceway as we get set to finally get this one under some American ethanol green flag action. Going to be single file as the field is lined up in that row down off in 3 and 4. Pace car going to duck off it away and going to get this back it away. So technically, first restart on the night, but 29 cars are scored on the little lap of the 30 that started this one. Ricky Howell Jr. has had an issue. He's 2 laps down through the second to pit service. But at a turn number 4, green flag in the air, and Ashton Crowder is off and away to the first quarter. Single file, they go off to 1 and 2. The single file restart really avoids a lot of the headache of going 2 wide off to 1. Everybody spread out up front.
Going down the back straightaway out of the dogleg. Going to go into turn number 3, 27 leading 17. Ducks it down to the bottom side of the racetrack on the inside of the 68 of Scott Simley. So move the 17 up into the... Oh, we got a car on the inside wall.
Trouble on the front stretch for the 39 of Dwayne Dunn, I believe. He was left side first, pancaked the driver's side of that Chevy Silverado. No caution. The wall kind of helped him keep it straight. He just got loose. Coming out of turn number 4, smacked the wall. No further issue for him other than the fact that it's going to cost him a handful of positions. Everybody else up front, again, relatively spread out. We're able to stay out and away from everybody else. Ashton Crowder, absolutely no complaints so far. Only 3 of the opening 10 laps of this race have been under green flag conditions, but he's out in front and enjoying it. Grew his gap the last time by 0.2 of a second. He now sits at about 6-7 tenths in front of Scott Simley in P2. Jamie Walker, though, despite all that, has already managed to make his way halfway to the front. You saw the big dive to the inside off of the restart. Well, he is in third now after starting way back in the number 7 spot. He was able to get around a handful of guys, and another big mover as a caution comes out at lap number 11. And take a look at a spinner at a turn number 4. Issues with the 0-4 of Brian Cutts. We had just noted that we saw a close call in turn 4 a couple of laps ago with Dwayne Dunn, and I think the exact same thing happened there. We'll get a second look on the LSRTV replay, but it looked like Todd Kirkwood on the outside just got sideways at a turn number 4 again. I did say there was 8 to 9 degrees of anchor, but it falls off really quickly, and that really doesn't feel like a lot at all to begin with, and that 9 looped it around, and unfortunately, unlike what we saw with Dwayne Dunn, where there was nobody else behind him, there was nowhere for the 04 Brian Cutts to go. He locked it up trying to keep it off him, and you saw those 2 trucks. They made contact coming off of the corner. They both went around. The 04 not all that bad. A little bit of a tougher break for the Don of Todd Kirkwood because he ended up in the outside fence, and it also somehow at all of that, Seth Foudy looped his machine around after he got spun off of the bumper of another driver behind him as they were all trying to check up and get around that. So a lot of chaos in turn 4. Seems to be showing us it's going to be calamity quarter already tonight. But at the second yellow, how about Scott Simley? Jamie Walker stays out. So does your race later. But the second place and the fourth place truck of Aaron Bennett, those 2 guys coming down pit road along with a handful of other guys. Very mixed decision on what the strategy is going to be up inside of the top 5. We'll see if 13 lap fresher tires is going to be a benefit because everybody from third on back can be down to the pit lane. We'll see what the call is, though, in the box. Scott Simley down the pit stall number 3. Going to be the first driver in. Crew going to go right side tires up on the snap-on Toyota Tundra. Looks like they're going to go to the left side as well. And Scott Simley elects to go with 4 tires earlier in this race. He's going to be the second driver off of the pit lane because Justin Kleber wins that race off of pit road. He was scored in 23rd position. However, Kleber did not take tires or fuel, drove through the pit lane, and as we've seen many a time here on the sim in the past, that would tell us that he's planning on coming down pit lane at the one to go topping off and hanging out at the back of the pack. But the question is, so little of the laps that we ran so far tonight were under green. You're at lap 13. Half of those were under the extended caution period earlier on in this one as we tried to get the running order sorted out so we could go into green flag conditions. So to say that they have 13, 14 lap fresher tires is a little bit unfair, but I think that the 4 tire call should be of quite the advantage to Scott Simley, because he's 4th right now, and if Kleber does come down pit road as what we would expect to see if he did go through pit road intentionally, not stopping, then he would dive down. He could have just missed his box and decide, hey, we'll throw a mulligan and we'll stay out here. Nonetheless, Simley's either going to be on the outside or the inside or number 2, guys in front of him on older tires. I like that call by the 68 machine. It was kind of one of those things with Ashton Crowder where he stayed out, the guys behind him pitted. I'm sure if he pitted, a handful of the guys behind him would have stayed out because the tires aren't a huge thing here tonight. But this could be something to look back on if we get later on in this race and try to talk about, how important tires are. Nobody went with 2 as far as the guys inside the top 5. It seemed like for those who did pit, they wanted 4 fresh tires underneath of them. That 93 of Justin Kleber, just as we thought, does come down to the pit lane this time. He started this race 21st out of about 30 drivers in this one. He'll go all the way back about outside the top 25 as he comes in and gets his service now. So that does toss Scott Simley from the outside of row number 2 to the inside of row number 2, starting in 3rd. We'll see maybe how he is able to navigate around Ashton Crowder and Jamie Walker 1-2 in front of him on the front row. You've also got Christopher Hurlow up to P4 and one of the bigger movers as well, then Aaron Bennett back in P5. That is the number 3 Chevrolet. So 15 laps going to be complete of the 156 on the night here from Phoenix International Raceway. And well, the driver who has swept the board so far, he was best in practice, best in qualifying, and so far has led every single lap of this race. Is going to be going green alongside Jamie Walker on old tires, fresh rubber from row number 2 on back. Pace car ducks off and away. American Ethanol green flag waves, and we are back underway. Good jump for the 27. He leaves the 17 to Jamie Walker with the Wolves. Simley to the inside. Side-by-side challenge for the number 2 spot. Also side-by-side behind them for 4th. It's a battle between Chris Hurlow and Aaron Bennett, but on the inside, Simley's fresh tires grabs the bite. He's clear for P2 off to turn number 3. Walker took a peek to the inside, wasn't able to make it stick. Right single file inline, and tries to see if he can follow Simley coming off at the corner. Simley already made up half the gap though. 16 laps complete. The gap between 1 and 2, 0.2 of a second, but contact from behind. Hurlow with a bump and run on Jamie Walker at the opening 20 laps of this race. Moves the Mountain Dew Chevy up the track, gets the inside. Aaron Bennett going to follow him through on the bottom, and they're both going to try to take spots away from the 17, and they do. Walker going to fall behind. Caution flag behind your race leaders. Take a look with the 39 machine of Dwayne Dunn. He had issues earlier on in this one, split it out at a turn number 4, and he is around once again, off in turn number 3 this time. Looks like the issue originated down the back straightaway. We'll take a second look on this one. 3 wide, there's plenty of space to do so, and they were fine all the way until they got up to the corner. At a 39, came up just a little bit. He was probably keeping a half eye on that 25, a Terrell on the bottom, trying to move up just a little bit too much, came up over the nose of the 9 machine. Really not much in that situation I think that Todd Kirkwood could have done, and just to kind of add insult to injury, Dwayne Dunn ended up on his lid, did a couple of spins down the back, and eventually got tagged by the Michael Warren entry. Caution out for the second time involving him still early on in this race. 18 laps complete from Phoenix. We've checked him up once again with Ashton Crowder still being scored in your race lead. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside as we get set to go back into green flag racing conditions. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 United Sim Racing Truck Series on iRacing Live.
More than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you were there at the track. It was a great experience.
This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. Hard braking. This is the slowest part of the track. And then
and I've done, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2, and then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something, which was, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, that speed.
This is the corner of all corners here, the Swedenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. And then hard at it again to get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here.
It's almost exactly like the real thing. So, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, So, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
Back live from Phoenix International Raceway, doubled up, getting set for another restart. The night is still young in our Phoenix Fresh Fit 250. We'll put 21 of tonight's 156 total distance laps behind us, and we'll go back at it once again. On that last restart, Scott Simley decided to go with tires. The previous pit stop, he was able to go from third to second. We'll see what he's able to do and challenge for the lead position. Other drivers on fresh tires just behind him, Aaron Bennett. And you got names like Louis Robinette, Justin Michael, and company all the way down through the lineup. The pace car down to Midway, though. Crowder should have an advantage because he is the control truck. Green flag flies him back underway, and a good takeoff at the inside of 4. He's able to get up to the fence, arc it off at 1, and try to get away with this one. Meanwhile, the battle side by side for third behind. Chris Hurlow slides up in front of the 3 of Aaron Bennett. Bennett got loosened up as the 87 of Justin Michael gave him a shot off of the corner, and Michael dives it into the inside as they go side by side for 4th position. These guys trying to get everything. These early race restarts. The 3 was able to get her on that time coming off of the outside of the corner, run it back off to turn number 1, and have the advantage, at least in a battle that is for the 4th position, side by side at the start finish line. Michael, though, going to go all the way down to the inside, using up almost every inch of that dog leg on the back straightaway to now pull a nose of an advantage off to turn number 3. We'll see if Bennett can get that big run off of the corner once again to keep him in it, and he does. That outside, you don't have much of an advantage when it comes to the banking, but he's able to put the foot back down just that much sooner, carry that momentum back off to turn number 1, and that's really where the outside has an advantage compared to the bottom, where you get an advantage this time down the back. But you saw the 3. He didn't take the dog leg the last time. He stayed high while Justin Michael cut it. And the 3 kind of learned his lesson that time. He was able to pinch him down, but it's not going to be enough, and give it to Justin Michael. He'll take over P4 after a valiant effort by both of those guys to not give it up. It'll drop Aaron Bennett back down to the number 5 spot. In between all of that is Scott Simley trying to chase down Ashton Crowder with a little bit of a tire advantage on the snap-on Toyota. In between them, do want to note that Chris Hurlow's in this thing. Started 13th. He's already gotten around 9 drivers and picked up 10 spots so far to get to this point in the race. And the number 14 machine right now riding in the number 3 position on the racetrack. And actually, I thought that we would be seeing Scott Simley close it in to Ashton Crowder, but it looks like it's going to be Scott Simley having to go on the defensive because Hurlow closing up to the back bumper, getting right to the back bumper in this battle, and they may do fight for that number 2 position. 27 trucks in the lead lap right now, though. Plenty of fighting, a couple of side-by-side back outside of the top 10, but the biggest battle up front right now is between the number 14 machine of Hurlow and the 68 Assembly in front. And the second these guys get with each other and start to do battle for that position, Ashton Crowder is going to be absolutely gone from that number 1 spot in that 27 machine, already pulling some distance at about a half a tenth to a tenth per lap. We'll take a look at the lap times this time around. Ashton Crowder goes 27.9, and it was a 28.0 for Scott Simley, so about a tenth per lap for the driver in the number 1 spot. As you see Herlo closing to the back bumper, making the run at a turn number 2 down the back straightaway. 14 decides not to cut the dog leg, take a wider arc into the corner. Meanwhile, Simley bottom to top there, shot some sparks back after he nicked the wall, going off to turn number 3. You see they'll carry it off at turn number 4, and still no difference between those guys battling inside of the top 5. Single file from that point on all the way back to P20. So at the moment, things calm here after what has honestly been a somewhat irregular and somewhat interesting start to this race. These guys just trying to get some laps out of the way. Again, as we said, 156 laps. It's about the same thing that we see at a place like Las Vegas, at a place like Atlanta for the last 2 weeks. And when you think Phoenix is a little bit of a shorter racetrack, it shouldn't take as long. But the lap times here, right on par with, if not longer, in comparison to how long it takes these guys to get around here, just because you're not going as hard all the way around the racetrack, and that might be the difference maker in this race, depending on just how long these guys are out on track. That 2-car battle, though, it's now a 3-car fight. Justin Michael looking for a little bit of redemption. He's in the picture now. Aaron Bennett closing in into the picture now. So Herlo got to Simley nice and quickly, got to the bumper, tried the battle for P2. However, maybe he's a little bit quicker, and that 68's holding him up because they're starting to form a line. Hard drive to the inside for Herlo. He'll look to the bottom of the racetrack in 3 and 4 and make it a side-by-side fight for the number 2 spot. They go door to door. We'll see if Justin Michael and company decide to wait before they make a move, or if they maybe try to make it a 3-wide scenario and force the issue. Still door to door in the battle for second spot. The 87 going to put a nose to the inside. The inside seems to be the place to be because Christopher Herlo has got it. He's up into the number 2 position, takes it away. As you see Scott Simley in the 68 machine now start to fall, and you can see already just 1 lap through, the 14's already pulled about 3-4 car lengths off of the corner, and 68 was really holding him up. Now we'll see what Justin Michael can do. Went to the inside, didn't work that time. 3 machine behind him. Aaron Bennett actually kind of gave him a little bit of a break, didn't force the issue. We'll see if Justin Michael can do it again. He goes back to the bottom. This time down the back, they head off to turn number 3. And you see they'll make it a door-to-door and nose-to-nose battle. Now the 20 in the picture. Scott Howell wants to join the party. 4-way battle for position number 3, and they'll go side by side, 2 rows deep. Caution flag will fly, though, behind that battle. It's off in turns 3 and 4 again, and James Nunn spun sideways with the 93 machine, and James Nunn coming over the radio and apologizing for that one. We'll get a second look up for you in just a moment on the LSRTV replay. It looked like a little bit of a checkup off in the 3. The 66 kind of got on the brakes a little bit sooner than he was expecting. He locked it up, spun it out in the corner, and the innocent victim of that was the 93, who had nowhere to go. Those 2 cars collected just like that. Back in 3 and 4, Calamity Quarter strikes again tonight. I don't think we've seen incident anywhere else on track, besides down at that end of the racetrack so far. Nonetheless, though, 35 laps into this one, it'll check us up once again as we group up behind the pace car, and I would assume get set, Gabe, to head down to the pit lane.
Yeah, maybe come down pit lane. Evan, just a little insult to injury. The 75 hit the 93 again after they wrecked. So just, if the first damage wasn't bad enough, he's got a little bit more, and he comes over and says, thanks. Thanks to the 75, Justin did. Looks like everybody coming down pit road, led by the 27 Ashton Crowder. They're going to come down to the attention of their pit crews. I think this is the first time we've seen everybody down on pit road. At least I have. I've been gone trying to fix my settings. Hopefully it's a little bit better. I should be back for the remainder of the race. Everybody got to come down. The 14 pulls in first. The 27 is going to march it all the way to the end of pit road. This very awkward pit road down to the 27 pit stall. Should be 4 tires all around for the entire field.
Herlo going to be able to get the service done nice and clean. He goes rights, lefts, and he is off and away, but tricky spot. Couple of guys just coming down to the pit lane in front of him. It'll be a drag race off of pit road with the 93. And I think that Kleber was able to maintain that spot off of pit road, but that's the same truck that we saw do the same thing the last time we had cars onto the pit lane, and that was just roll through with the intention of coming down to the pit lane and actually taking service at the one to go. So outside of Kleber, who we assume is doing that strategy, but it is going to put him in P1 for the moment, and at least guarantee him a bonus point for leading a lap. It is going to be Christopher Hurlow in the race lead in this one, with Ashton Crowder going to the number 2 position when it cycles through. Again, right now 3rd, and then Justin Michael, Scott Simley, Aaron Bennett should be the top 5 cars when we do go back underway. Jamie Walker, though, 17, was just up here and struggling a little bit back in 13th position.
Yeah, falling back through the field. But if I know Jamie Walker in that 17 Mountain Dew car, it's going to get up through the field pretty fast, or at least I hope it's the Mountain Dew car. I haven't been on iRacing in a few months. Okay. Didn't have time to update my paint schemes. But that 17 Chevrolet, it is a fast machine, and if anybody can drive through the field here at Phoenix, it's sure to be that green car.
We'll see if the restart's coming up this time by. I guess a good way to gauge if the lights are going to be going off is that Kleber's going to be coming down pit road. And you do see the 93, just as anticipated, head towards the pit lane right there. So lights should go off. It should mean we got one more time around until we go back into green flag conditions. Just 37 laps in, as I noted, of the 156 so far in tonight's race. But that last run, as the lights do go out, really we did get to see guys get spread out. I think the issues so far tonight, Gabe, haven't been guys getting into each other, just kind of like we saw in that last example. It's more so guys just struggling with the handling of their own truck, and when you get loose in front of somebody, it doesn't normally end well, and that's the only reason why these are really multi-truck accidents.
Yeah, having an ill-handling truck is one thing. Having an ill-handling truck in front of the rest of the field, that's a whole nother story. These guys, if you have a bad handling car, you want to get by yourself and try and figure it out. Well, these guys are getting restart after restart, and it's just they're trying to figure these things out so close together, and that's what you saw. He had to jump on the brakes, and he ended up spinning the car out and getting loose under the brakes, and that's why we had the last caution. But hopefully these guys can get spread out.
We'll take a look. Again, they started this race single file, but with the double file restart since then, it has been a little bit more tight off the turn number 1. The 27 trying to guess when the 14 would go. It did not work. He had to get on the binders. Again, the race leader gets the opportunity to start this race, and Hurlow held it back a little bit longer than what Ashton Crowder had been doing all night long, and it turned out to be a good call. It'll actually single file the top 5 guys off as they go off to turns 3 and 4, because everybody thought that he would be going at the same time Ashton Crowder did earlier on. 14 waited much longer. It's going to give him a small but rather comfortable 3-car length advantage as the first lap off of the restart going to be complete. It's Hurlow, Crowder, Justin Michael, Scott Simley, Scott Howell in line single file, the top 5.
First battle is going to be between the 4 of Robert Gillenwater and the 17, working his way through the field. Look at that, from 13th to 8th in one lap. He's side by side with him, going through the dogleg into turn number 3. He's going to complete the pass and move himself deep inside to the top 10. Now he's going to go after that 3 of Aaron Bennett, we got a car spinning on the front straightaway. Looks like the 30 of Louis Robinette. He's going to be sideways on the front straightaway. Looks like nobody's going to hit him, so we're going to be under caution here on lap number 40.
A couple of the guys got awfully close to getting the back end of that 30 machine, but he is going to luck out in this one and simply just take a little bit of a slide, and the yellow does come out. Once again, turns 3 and 4. This one a little bit easier to see what happened. He got those left side tires right down to that yellow line, and it's kind of interesting how that works because the pit lane entry is right there, and it gets really flat even up above the yellow line. The banking falls away a lot quicker on the inside than it does on the top, and I mean, it just got a little sideways. He hooked the wheel all the way around to the right. That didn't work for him, though, and he goes nose first into the inside fence. The good part in all of that, Gabe, is he got the defense, but he kept the foot jammed on the brake, locked up the tires, therefore didn't slide back up the track into anybody, and he's able, therefore, to still have a truck to race after really just being the only one involved in that one, contrary to what we saw the last 2 times.
Yeah, that's one thing about Phoenix is it's just like Dover. Once one person gets spun around, it really clogs up that front straightaway. But he did a really good job. Once he did it, he kept the car from rolling and ends up coming on to just staying to the inside of the racetrack off of turn number 4. And that's really one thing about Phoenix. You can really make that bottom side work, but if you screw it up, you're going to be spun in front of the whole field.
Christopher Hurlow started this race in 13th position. He's the race leader at lap number 42. Not all that far away from the 100 lap to go marker. We'll bring it back for the restart on the other side. Plenty more to come. From Phoenix International Raceway, you're watching LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Welcome back live to Avondale, Arizona for tonight's coverage of the United Sim Racing Truck Series Phoenix Fresh Fit 250, the fourth round of 30 on this 2016-17 BNC London Landscaping Truck Series campaign. Happy to be with you as always right here on LSRTV at iRacing Live. Evan Pasoko, Gabe Wood topside with you, and Cisco Scaramouza downstairs. 45 laps going to be complete from PIR so far to this point. A lot of stop and go early on. Has, though, put a little bit of a strategy on the pit lane into effect in this one. Your race leader started 13th. Justin DeMichael, who is in 3rd, started 17th. And Steve Ritter, at the highest point he's been tonight after starting in 14th, is up to P6. But Ashton Crowder, the pole sitter, in the number 2 spot, trying to get this one back from Chris Hurlow. 14 plays games again on the restart and wins. He'll take off and away. They'll be able to car length the gap off to turn 1.
4-car breakaway up front. It's going to be the 14 of Chris Hurlow in front of the 27. 1-2 combination we've had for most of this latter part of this run. It's going to be the 87 Justin Michael, Scott Simley right behind him. Simley is under attack from the 20 of Scott Howell. Looks like he's going to settle down into that 5th position. Behind him, it's a mad scrap between the 16, the 3, and the 17. They're all trying to get that 6th position and get up into the top 5 here in just a minute. That 3 jumps to the bottom of the 16 of Steve Ritter. He's going to complete the pass, and that's going to open the door for the 17. Also, Jamie Walker, he's going to move up into 7th. Like I said, if there's anybody who can move to the field here at Phoenix, it's that 17.
And the question remains, what is the damage an issue with the 16 team? Awfully tight that time on the door as the 8 of Jeff Ryan was trying to put up a challenge, but you can see very visibly the back-end damage on Steve Ritter's machine, dropping back 2 spots off for the restart, now back to P8. Got the damage after the contact under the yellow earlier on in this race, in fact, in the opening 5 laps. Not sure if that is the reason or if he just kind of got caught on the outside, but the guys in front of him are definitely trying to pull away and run away with him. It's going to be, how about a 3-way battle for the race lead? Hurlow, Crowder, Michael, 1, 2, and 3. and they're all over each other within 0.3 of a second the last time around. Crowder keeping a look to the inside. Here's his opportunity if he wants to go all the way down to the inside, and the 14 from the top tries to shut the door. They can be side by side off the turn number 3, a tight squeeze. Ashton Crowder, though, can't make it stick that time.
14 does a good job of using that outside lane here at Phoenix. It's doable and very difficult to pull off, but he pulls it off, so he's going to hold off the 27. Now that 87 goes to the outside of Ashton Crowder in turn number 1. Out of turn number 2, that 27 is going to jump to the bottom side of the racetrack through the dogleg. He's going to follow the 87. The 87 is going to do it also, but not going to have the run. See if the outside lane is going to work here in 3 and 4. That 27 is going to jump to the apron. No, gets a little bit loose. The 27 moved that 87 into the second position.
And what that small battle did is give Chris Hurlow a half a second advantage. Both Justin Michael and Ashton Crowder were catching up to Chris Hurlow in the battle for the race lead. And next thing you know, they go side by side for a lap and a half. He's gone by half a second. So that's the risk you got to take. And I know that it's going to be easier said than done. I don't think that you can really, tell Ashton Crowder, if you're Justin Michael, hey, don't pass me. Let me get up to him and pass him first. On paper, probably be the better idea, because the more they fight, further the 14 gets away. That's just not how these things work. But Justin Michael continues to move forward, and they might have to go side by side again for a second. Crowder at the bottom, but the 87 shuts the door.
Little bit of battle between the 17, the 68, the 3, and the 20. 20 just got past, opened the door for the 3 of Aaron Bennett, and the 17 slips between them and goes into, looks like, the 6th position. We're going to slide the 68 of Scott Simley back to the 8th spot. 87 back up front just a little bit. They're catching Hurlow just a little bit. Once they got single file, Evan, they're starting to get back, reel him in.
Yeah, I'm convinced, even if it's just in the slightest, they are a little bit quicker than him at the moment. Again, Hurlow is somebody who has a good car when it comes to race trim, and 22nd in practice, 13th in qualifying. Not spectacular numbers, but we've seen Hurlow take worse cars than that and park it inside of the top 5, and even on occasion in victory lane here on LSRTV in the past. So he can get the job done. Again, race trim completely different from qualifying trim, but it's hard to look at a guy like an Ashton Crowder in particular, who is best in practice and qualifying. Impressed though with Justin Michael, who qualified 17th, has really picked it up and is kind of spearheading this charge. I think if you look at the guys 1, 2, and 3 on the track right now, the order that they may be running if we stay green for 20 laps, and that is going to go out the window because caution flag back out on this one. I obviously glance off to turn 4, but the issue is not there. It's on the front stretch.
Looks like it's going to be the 64 up in the wall, and Sean Foudy in the 15 or the 22. They're going to get together coming off of turn number 4. It looks like the 22.
All kinds of guys, yeah. I know that the 64 in this one, but it starts with Joshua Susi on the outside. The 81 is the guy who's up top, and he gets into the fence. He might have kept it out, but he was sideways off of 4, so it is turn 4, striking it once again, and the 81 spins it down the track. He tags the 64, and again, I mean, you got 3-4 trucks sideways in the middle of the front stretch. There's nowhere for a lot of guys to go. The 22 is involved, and then the 12 had to come to a complete stop to avoid getting junked. Could have been worse, but a handful of guys get piled in there. There is nothing of an apron on that front stretch, Gabe. You got a wall on your right-hand side, the pit row wall on your left-hand side. Things get tight when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, it's not like being at a Daytona or an Atlanta. Once you get onto this front straightaway, the back straightaway gives you a little bit of banking, like you said in a pre-race show in the corners, but you get this front straightaway, there is no banking to save you. Once you're spinning, you're basically gone. But Evan, I want to say that 64 Michael Priester, he was one of the first people to make contact with the 81 coming off the wall. He did a great job getting it locked down and staying out of the wall. He got no damage other than that initial contact.
This is going to bring guys back down to the pit lane. One of the longer green flag stints we've seen on the night. Chris Hurlow going to bring him in from the number 1 position. He goes 4 tires and fuel, and he will go untested off of the pit lane easily. Able to stay out in front. P2, Justin Michael, no change. Ashton Crowder, no change. The only difference is Scott Howell's going to lose a lot of positions in the 20 machine. He's sitting in the box for quite some time. he'll go from 4th to well outside of the top 10, maybe even back outside the top 15. As he sat in the box for quite some time. Not sure if he was making any sort of additional adjustments on the truck or if he was just getting damage repaired. The truck didn't look all that bad, but nonetheless, he's going to have a little bit of an uphill battle to climb. This yellow kind of makes things nice for us, Gabe, because it came at exactly 100 laps to go. Now we work lap 58 of 156. So while we aren't quite at the halfway point when the guys chatting with their spotters and he's no longer talking about 100 and some odd laps to go, makes him feel a little bit better that this one's starting to get on. But Herlo out in front, I mean, the 14 machine doing his thing. I don't think this battle is done, though, between Michael, and Crowder, though, in those second and third positions. I think that if you can get a good restart, that's going to be key. And if they've kind of cued into what Herlo's been doing, Herlo's really waiting a long time until he goes. The last 2 times Ashton Crowder's tried to jump it, tried to guess, it didn't work out. If Justin Michael got the memo, the 87 should sit back a little bit longer on the outside of the front row, and then maybe he'll kind of cue into what Herlo's been doing. But same thing can be said to Herlo. He could mix it up this time and just kind of discard any information that those other guys have kind of learned.
Yeah, that's the choice you have as leaders, to kind of play with the people behind you. Evan, I want to point out something. You said that these guys, they're starting to get a little less worried because time is running out and time is coming off the clock here. We're under 100 laps to go now. I want to say the opposite of that. Drivers, they're now knowing that person behind me, he's running out of time to get around me. And he's going to be a little bit more aggressive, and I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive. Nobody's going to be cutting anybody brakes here in the next couple laps because they may not get another opportunity.
Well, the guys have gone up and down so far here tonight. One of the bigger movers in this one is Michael Atkins Jr. Not sure we've given a call to him yet. The Steak and Shake Chevrolet started 24th position. He is up to 11th. He's the highest driver running in the field right now who started this race on provisionals. And the guys on the front row started in 13th and 17th, Herlo and Michael respectively. So we'll see what those guys are able to do up at the front of the field. The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down and off and away. And the 14 machine is going to be in control of the field. He sets sail once again. Another perfectly timed jump for Herlo. Going to leave them funning for second behind him.
It's going to put the 87 on the top of the racetrack. He's going to try and make it work there around the outside of turn number 2. That 27 is going to drop to the bottom. Goes through the dogleg, cuts it just like Herlo. And he's going to be clear by the time they get to turn number 3.
But is able to snag that spot away, and courtesy of the good restart that he had in third position, actually worked out to being better than half at a restart in second. It'll drop and obviously shuffle those 2 positions around with Ashton Crowder now occupying P2, Michael back in a number 3 spot. Jamie Walker back up in the conversation. He is P4. As we noted at the pre-race show, if you were with us, Jamie Walker highest in the points without a win yet this year. And that's kind of been the story of Jamie Walker's 2016. So good, but just missing by 1 or 2 spots per week. Trips to victory lane. If he could have translated every single second place finish he got last season into a win, his wins would have been in the double digits. But the 17 machine hoping to maybe make that a little bit of a different story in this 16-17 campaign. He's running strong right now, but I don't think at the moment the fastest truck on track. I think Ashton Crowder might even have it. He's closed it in on Herlo as the 14 put it a little bit high up out of the line that time in 4.
See what's going to happen here. Lap 63. 62 on to lap 63. That 27 is closing in. See if he can get to the back bumper of the 14 of Christopher Herlo. Herlo's running a little bit higher lane, Evan. Maybe he's trying to save a little bit of tires, not turn as much.
Yeah, you can obviously take different lines into the quarter, and obviously you can see these guys get really uptight to the fence because they want to minimize how much they got to turn the truck, and it's a good way to keep tires underneath it. But a 14 a lot lower that time by. I think he just missed it that last time around. But now you've got somebody on your bumper. You're really not caring too much about conserving the tires. I think Herlo's going to want to stay in front of him and watch for Ashton Crowder on the back straightaway. He'll have to wait again. Caution is out. And it's on the front straightaway. Dwayne Dunn again. Get a second look at this one. Looks like at turn number 4, the 39 brushed the fence on the outside of the racetrack and loosened him up, tried to hang on to it, wasn't able to, and once again, turn 4 claims another victim. Third time tonight, Dwayne Dunn has brought out a yellow, still shy of the halfway point in this one, and a tough break for Stephen Herring, who more or less avoided the accident, but when he locked it up to get around, slapped that truck into the inside fence, and I'm sure he has a date with Pit Road to try to get that truck fixed up as well.
He may have a date with the Infield Care Center because he hit that wall hard trying to get around the wrecked car there on the front straightaway. Hopefully he can get his car repaired. But, Evan, that leaves us with another caution here. Getting close to halfway. It's a race of attrition, Evan. And like I was saying a second ago, maybe saving tires. Oh! A couple of drivers.
Talk about tight.
Hurlo and Ashton are the only lead lap cars, basically. Yep. Looks like only lead lap cars that are.
But we saw the same thing on a yellow earlier. Only 2 trucks stay out, and it really didn't end up that bad for them. But again, talk about making a late call. Some of these tracks don't have a pit road wall like Phoenix does, and it's not as bad. Those guys just about plowed both of them into the tires and the barrels there at the pit road wall. They were able to keep them out. So the drivers who did come down pit road include Justin Michael. And even with what you expect to see, Gabe, at a strategy like this is what the 17 of Jamie Walker just did. And that is, if somebody's staying out, you think 2 tires has to be feasible. Jamie Walker's going to go. Oh, no, Walker is going to go at 4 tires. Just a very quick stop for him and a very slow stop for Justin and Michael behind him. Michael also went with 4 tires but got obliterated coming out of pit road by Jamie Walker. So a good stop for the 17, but Ricky Howell Jr. is going to be the driver to go with 2 tires and bump him up a few spots. So Hurlo in the number 1 spot, Crowder in the number 2 position. You single file before we go back green. Then you have Ricky Howell Jr. on the 2. It is going to be 4 tires from 4th position on back. So far, what we have seen is tires are important, and you would think that by how many times guys are coming down getting them, they are of the utmost importance. But the 2 times we saw people stay out and go no tires, it wasn't a terrible call. I still wouldn't prefer to go out there, Gabe, with no fresh rubber, so I think Ricky Howell Jr. is in the best spot here. He's got the 2 tires, and as we saw on the last restart, when Ashton Crowder started in 3rd, and by being on the inside row number 2, was able to get around the guy that actually started in 2nd. He took over P2. I think if Ricky Howell Jr. can get a good jump, get on the bumper of Hurlo, he could lead this race a couple of laps off of the restart with those 2 tires, while the guys behind him on 4 have to take a little bit more time getting through traffic, and that might kind of negate that difference in tire benefit.
Well, you know what, Evan? I think I'm going with the guy who's going to start to his outside, that 17 of Jamie Walker. I've talked about him a few times here in the last couple laps. He's really shown that he's the best of the rest. With the 7 or the 14, the 27, and the 87, he's been shown he's the number 4 car, at least from what we've seen so far. And he's got 1 of them behind him. He's got 2 of them in front of him on older tires. Not that much older, but it could make the difference. He may have pulled, a pretty good strategy with a quick pit stop.
See what happens on this one. It is going to be the first time tonight, we will note, that we'll see something a little bit different here going on these restarts. Hurlo has been rather consistent with what he's been doing, but now he's got a whole different cast of characters in and around him. We will see just how long he holds these guys back. Again, he's got from when the pace car ducks down to the green flag comes out at the exit of the restart box. Plenty of time for the 14th to dictate when we put the right foot down and get back underway. Pace car ducks off and away. You see he holds him back on the inside, gets on the gas, green flag in the air, and he fooled Crowder on that one.
They're going to be side by side behind him, 2 rows back, and they're almost 3 wide. 3 wide for the outside of the top 5, but they're going to be in the 18, the 27 are side by side. The 87 ducks low in the dog leg, and he's going to cut him. Going to be 3 wide entering turn number 3, the 17, the 27, and the 18 just kind of leading that little train there. The 18 of Ricky Howell doing pretty decent on the 2 tires, but let's see in a couple laps how he does on a little bit longer run. But Hurlo, he gets a good restart yet again. Kind of fools him a little bit on the timing, and he's got a little bit of a cushion.
I thought they were going to go 4 wide there. Walker splits the gap, and they do for a moment. 87 going to drop back in line and a lot of contact. The 14, lost a lot of speed down the back. Herlo going to go to the inside as well. You've got Ricky Howell Jr., the 87 adjusted Michael, and everybody at a bad scram for the race lead. Big wreck behind Bobby Terrell.
Looks like the 16 is Steve Ritter. I see. Looks like the 24, Bobby Terrell, went around on the front straightaway, collected the 16. Big junk there, and hard hit by a couple of guys that just piled in there after the initial contact.
And do you think before taking a second look at the replay we could guess what turn that started in? I'm starting to notice a trend here.
Number 5? Oh, 4.
I mean, it's a triangle, so it's either 3 or 5 turns. They decide to go with 4. That's a topic for a different day. But the guys can't figure it. And again, it's not like they're digging hard, but when you're side by side like that and you're so far up off of the bottom, I mean, that truck gets a little bit sideways, Gabe, and nobody's able to catch it. You can't, get the wheel, jerk it to the right really quickly and hang on. I mean, once the back end starts to go out, it just slides all the way off to the front stretch. And that was a huge hit for Terrell. He got all 4 tires off the ground at one point.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a combination of both factors. The guys coming off the corner hard, they're full throttle, as looks like Herlo and the rest of the field. No, they pull the opposite strategy. The 17 fakes him, and he's going to leave the 14 and the 18 on pit road, so move the 17 of Jamie Walker into the lead.
So they were the only 2 who stayed out, and now they're some of the only 2 who come down to the pit lane. There's a handful of other trucks who are also going to pit behind them, but as far as guys up front, they're relatively alone. So they're on the opposite strategy. Not, I don't think, by design, just by the luck of it, and that's going to put Jamie Walker for the first time tonight in our race lead.
Going to put the 87, one of the faster cars we've seen all night. They're on the outside of the racetrack. Evan, I want to say my pick would either be between the 14 and the 27, but that 87 showed he's got good speed, but whether he can be consistent if we get a green flag run, you could say that about anybody in the field, but I'm interested to see how fast that 87 really is in clean air.
Yeah, he's been knocking on the door for a lot of this, but hasn't had an opportunity to get out into that clean air and do something for himself and just kind of get away for a little bit. Also, Ashton Crowder has a little bit of front-end damage, which I think is interested on the left side. Not a lot, but just scrunched up a little bit around that left front tire, which may be a very minor factor, but he led all the opening laps of this race. Has a fast truck. I don't think anybody's going to doubt that, but the AccuCheck machine didn't look spectacularly fast, and he has since dropped the back in traffic to second and now has fallen to third. So I'm curious to see if that team's going to be able to figure out how to navigate through this traffic and get back up where they started in front.
Well, Evan, you're talking about the 27's damage. I don't think that's going to be a real factor because the 14, he had a lot of heavy damage there when he was up front leading, and he was able to lead a few laps and stay out front. Now that I think about it, the drivers behind him did catch him, so it may affect the 27 being in dirty air, being behind these 2 guys.
We'll see if a restart is coming up this next time around at lap number 74. The top 3 are Jamie Walker, Justin Michael, and Ashton Crowder. Aaron Bennett, Scott Simley also accompanying them inside of the top 5. And across the start-finish line, the pace car goes. Survey says lights off on top of the pace car. So we are going to go back and read 75 laps going to be complete here tonight. And if you do another 75, we're about 6 laps shy of making it to the end of this one. So right on the doorstep, across at a halfway point in tonight's Phoenix Fresh Fit 250. We'll go back green, and then we'll take an opportunity to take a look top to bottom in your iRacing Midway race break in just a moment. Before that, though, another restart on tap. The last 4 or 5, I think, consecutively have been dictated by none of the guys on the front row. Jamie Walker's going to get his first crack at it, so we'll see just what he does with that 5-second buffer between when he can go and when he has to go at the exit of the restart box. And if the 27 of Ashton Crowder is able to take advantage of the last couple of restarts, that 3rd position has really done a lot better than the guy who's actually starting alongside your race leader in the number 2 spot on the outside of the front row. Pace car ducks off and away. Walker in control, on the gas much sooner. Green flag in the air, and another battle behind him for second.
It'll be a battle that 17 pulls away. That 87 is going to use the outside lane to his advantage. See if he can pull clear of the 27. Looks like he's not going to. Oh, it's going to get tight there as they both cut the dog leg here off the restart. 87 is going to get clear by the time they get to turn number 3. Now he's going to set his sights on that 17 Mountain Dew Chevrolet of Jamie Walker, looking for his first win of the year and first win in a while, especially the 2016 season. But the 87 is going to duck down there in turn number 1, and he's going to be side by side with your leader. The 17 here coming off of turn number 2. That 87 is going to duck down to the bottom side of the racetrack, and he's going to try and get clear, Evan, but you know, that dog leg is not as big of a factor as it used to be.
You're even seeing the guys on the outside get the advantage off the corner here. This is one of the best places on the track to be on the outside. It's off the final turn. Even that, not enough to keep Walker in front. Justin Michael nose in front at the start-finish line, and he'll try to run him up top, but he's got it. Single file for 1 and 2 as Justin Michael clears Jamie Walker for the race lead. Behind him, look at Aaron Bennett. 4th position at a turn number 2. He'll try to go for second with a huge dive on the inside.
Good racing here up front, Evan. I find it funny. As soon as you said single file on back, everybody fanned out on the back straight away. But that 3 of Aaron Bennett's going to duck down to the bottom side of the racetrack, to the side of that 17. Going to pull to the bottom side of the racetrack. That 20, he's also making it his way up front. Scott Howell. A little update on Hurla. Let's see where he is at. He's way back here in the field. See if I can find where he's at. Looks like he's running in the 15th position. Whole gaggle of cars 3 wide with the 64. Everybody's going to have to fan out back here. It looks like maybe the 30 car of Louis Robinette got a little bit slow there coming out of turn number 3.
It got tight as well with the 3. When you look back up front with these guys still doing battle, the 17 of Jamie Walker now in 3rd. Aaron Bennett was able to complete that spectacular charge on the inside. It made him 2 wide, 2 rows deep for a moment. They have now calmed back down in the slightest. And now Aaron Bennett, just like Jamie Walker was when he was in control for the race lead in this one out for the restart, Bennett in P2 at the moment is the highest that he's been so far all night long. We'll see if he has anything for Justin Michael up front. Halfway now in this race as we put 81 laps behind us. As of this time around, we'll take an opportunity to take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, and Midway. 82 laps in the books, and Justin Michael, your race leader, started in 17th position. He leads the way in a good fight for that spot over Aaron Bennett in P2. Joining them in the top 5, Jamie Walker, Scott Howell, and Ashton Crowder. The top 5 still all within 1 second of each other at the moment. A little bit further down, you'll find Scott Simley. Quiet night tonight, but trying to make his way back forward. Greg Mall behind him in 7th. Brian Harvey right behind them now, running in the number 8 position. P9 is Robert Gildwater. And Christopher Hurlo, fresh off of the pit lane, trying to come back up to the field, rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, just outside the top 10, is a 66 of Ralph Vander Voorst. He's racing side by side with the 30 of Louis Robinette running in 12th, and actually they just exchanged positions, so moved the 30 into that spot in 11th. Michael Priester, we saw him get a little contact earlier, but able to keep it off the wall. Good recovery in that lucky number 13 position. Ricky Howell in the 18. We saw him lead momentarily whenever the 14 hit the wall, coming off of turn number 2, but since then he's dropped back now after the pit stops. The 11 of Shane Hawther in the 15th position. Justin Kleber was involved in one of our early cautions in the 93 and 16th. Joshua Salsi in the 17th spot. Brian Cutts in the 04 and 18th. 19 belongs to the Riley Thompson. And James Nunn, another car we saw get in contact in the 20th position.
Continuing on through the field, 21st at the moment is Michael War. Randy Tessar behind him in 22nd, exactly where he started. Michael Atkins Jr. 23rd, and Stephen Herring 24th. That's all the trucks on the lead lap at the moment. Only one driver is 1 lap down in this race, and that is Seth Foudy. He just got passed by Herring and is 1 lap down in 25th, and at a good position to get away by to get back to the lead lap if we were to see another caution here shortly. Other than that, Sure, you've got guys on track, Steve Ritter, 26, but he's 12 laps down. Going to be tough for him to make all that up. Bobby Terrell, he's since gone behind the wall after the big accident, scored in 27th spot. You got Jeff Ryan, 28th. Dwayne Dunn, 3 incidents was it for him tonight. He's out of this one, and at the back of the pack and rounded out in 30th position is Todd Kirkwood. That was a look at your iRacing Midway race. Break is up front. Got it out, Aaron Bennett. Almost put the 3 Chevrolet in the fence. He was able to hang on, but Michael's going to be able to pull a little bit of a distance. But for more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. You can also use our exclusive LSRTV promo code by entering PR-2016 LSRTV when you register for a new iRacing membership only to get a late model free of charge. And, well, good news for Seth Foudy. Caution flag is out, and we'll check him up once again. Close it in now on lap number 100, trying to take a look to see where the problem came from.
Looks like it's the 30 again of Louis Robinette. He was running inside the top 15 just a second ago. He's spinning down the front straightaway, and Evan, it happened again.
Yeah, and, you take a look at it, and I think it's going to be to the point where we should just put a stationary camera up in turn 4. You look at the track faxes, when you get a second look at the 30, you split it out. Turns 1 and 2, 10 to 11 degrees of banking. Turn 4, 8 to 9 degrees of banking. That 2-degree differential doesn't sound like a lot. But when you're in the truck, turns 1 and 2 just looks and feels like it has so much more banking than 3 and 4. 3 and 4 also is a lot more of a broad corner. 1 and 2 is a little bit tighter. You got to check it out. But in 3 and 4, you're waiting so long to get back on the gas. You get a little bit ahead of yourself, and that thing's just going to loop around. And it's shown to really not be any sort of forgiving to these guys so far tonight. And Louis Robinette, once again, gets to experience that. Though we're going to come down pit road at lap number 90, expecting most of these guys to want to go with 4 tires, but we'll see if Justin Michael can maintain the top spot. He's your race leader, but he's way down in pit stall number 17.
Evan, as cars come down pit road, we're going to see who's going to lead them off pit road. Evan, I want to elaborate on what you just said. Turns 1 and 2, it feels a lot faster because whenever you're coming off of turn number 2, you can let out on the wheel a little bit and get back to the throttle because you're opening up onto that back straightaway. You get off of turn number 4, you basically have to crank the wheel again like you're coming into the corner again as the 3 is going to beat the 17 off of pit road. A close little race there. It looks like Christopher Hurlow takes 2 tires to get out front. Yeah, a little bit of strategy being played, but it's almost like you have to yank the wheel again, and it seems like that little turn again here coming off of turn number 4 is what's causing these guys to get loose.
We'll take this opportunity to step aside for a brief moment as now we get down to crunch time from Phoenix International Raceway. Your race leader at lap number 91 becomes Randy Tesser, but Justin Michael, your race leader coming out of the pit lane, scored in 3rd. We'll also go LSRTV non-stop, so you don't miss a moment of the action. Back to Avondale on the other side.
So obviously you guys have come from the virtual world to reality. What do you think about a sim racer coming in the real world? What were your expectations coming in?
Coming from iRacing, a computer program basically down here to a real world scenario where you got all these guys with all these years and years and years and years of experience that are also using iRacing as a tool to come out and run against those guys and beat them and finish ahead of them and show them, there's a thing or two you might be missing is fantastic. That's a skill that I know I don't have, and I can appreciate it because I'm terrible at iRacing.
Glenn was able to come into the team. We did a lot of preseason testing, actually a full season's worth of testing before we even started the season. And he came in, there was a lot of sectors that he was the fastest guy out of our team. And Sparky and I are looking at data, trying to catch up to him through some turns. And of course, some places Sparky will be the fastest or I'll be the fastest, and Glenn is able to learn from, what we're doing and vice versa. So it was excellent to see his pace right off of the bat, and speed was never a worry. It's about qualifying well. Qualifying is very difficult, and pretty important in this series. and so is, being able to make effective passes without contact. It's very difficult to pass in these cars, so it's not easy being here.
I think the level of ultra competitiveness in here, where when normally when you make a pass, you're making a pass with 2 cars involved. But if we're making a pass in this series, you have to remember there's 5 cars waiting behind you. If you mess up that pass, they're going by you.
Yeah, it's like sharks.
Yeah, you're surrounded by sharks. But no, it's been I've been very surprised and very pleased with it. And obviously, I have the 2 champions I'm sitting between. John actually statistically is the most successful MX-5 Cup driver in the world. He owns every record that you would want, none of the bad records.
Maybe some of them, I don't know.
Maybe some of those. And Sparky's one of the quickest guys in the paddock, and obviously the champion now. So I couldn't have picked a better team to be with 6 Sideways. I'm looking at what everybody in the paddock calls gold. I mean, they will pay to look at John and Sparky's data, and I get full access to it. And I get to see where I'm doing well and see where I can improve. And I've been really pleased with my progress.
Back live off for the restart. Justin Michael ends up back in front. We did see a driver stay out. You saw Randy Tesser bring us back into green flag conditions. He got out of the way quick, though, down the back straightaway, and since then it was gone back in control of the number 87 machine. And you got Jamie Walker P2, but Ashton Crowder in third. Battling still behind them, though. Looks like Aaron Bennett could lose a fight with Greg Mull for 7th. Is in front of them Scott Simley and Scott Howell duke it out. They started side by side on row number 2 and 3rd and 4th. Right now they battle side by side for 5th and 6th. Battle going to come on up in the number 2 position. Ashton Crowder charges to the inside of Jamie Walker. They'll go side by side for the number 2 spot. And the 17, we saw this battle not all that long ago, was able to do a good run out of 4. In fact, this one much better, half a truck length, the advantage. But the problem is he can't keep Ashton Crowder out from underneath him off at 1 and 2, which means the 27 is going to probably use that dog leg way below the yellow line. He goes, the 17 goes to block, and what a move by Jamie Walker to pinch the 27 down and actually win that battle. But not only that, Christopher Herlo picked up on the opportunity. Remember, he pitted out of sequence after staying out when everybody had pitted the previous yellow, went way back outside the top 15. Well, he's back inside the top 3 now with that pass.
Herlo doing a really, really good job on no tires, staying out on that last stop. I saw him fall back a little bit. I thought that was going to be the end of his race. I thought it was a horrible call, but it looks like he's really taking advantage of the track position, the clean air, or at least the relatively clean air compared to the rest of the pack. But he's doing a really good job compared to the guys on 4 tires.
We have seen a little bit of tire strategy here and there, but it hasn't really found itself in a critical role so far here tonight. Maybe that cycle of pit strategy, depending on what we see over the course of the next 57 laps in this race, may show us once and for all who made the right call in that middle portion of this race when we saw a lot of different guys trying out a lot of different things. Justin Michael, though, is your race leader. He's turned out away from Jamie Walker, but at the same time, Ashton Crowder may have lost the spot to Herlo, but he's not letting the 14 get away at all. How about a little bit of a tap to the back bumper that time when they were off in turn number 1, and down the back straightaway they go again. 27 gonna have to wait to mount the charge. Caution flag is back out.
And this time, it's off of turn number 2, Evan. So for the first time tonight, we have a caution off of turn number 2, at least for the first time in a while. But yeah, the 4 of Robert Gillenwater, believe he got loose. Yep, looks like he got back to the gas off of turn number 2 and just spun it before he got to the dog leg. Luckily,
and a tough break there,
anything.
yeah, because we spun down below the yellow line. So you could look at it and say, the yellow could have not come out on that one. But again, the dog leg here is just so commonly used that the yellow flag does come out from that. But he got it all the way sideways before he did get down below the yellow. So it does trigger the caution flag to come out. And just kind of a lazy spin for the 4. But that goes to show you that, hey, these trucks are loose all over this Phoenix International Raceway, and that caution came right at lap number 100 with 56 laps to go. We spent a little bit of that run talking about some pit strategy. How about some more pit strategy? Everybody coming in this time.
And I tell you what, if we gave out our Move of the Race award, it's got to be going to that 14 of Christopher Herlo, because staying out on old tires, he gets a caution, gets a break, and now for the first time in about 30 laps, he's back inside the top 5.
Again, I'm still curious to see how that 17th pit stall affects him, because he's way down away from the party at the end of the pit lane. He'll go right sides, he'll go left sides. It's going to be a 4-tire call for the number 87 Toyota. Gets out of the boxes, goes back onto the pit lane. Not going to be the first driver out, though. Good challenge by Jamie Walker. They'll go side by side. He'll come up short on drivers who also went with the 4-tire call. But how about Joshua Susie? The 81 came down P10. He went with 2 tires and beat them all off of the pit lane.
And the 14 lost a couple positions to the 27 and looked like the 20 is Scott Howell. So Herlo, like he said, that 17th pit stall really kind of screwed him out of a top 5, at least at this point. But yeah, 81 of Joshua Susie, we've seen no tires work. So maybe 2 tires will work. We've seen him run up front, been around the top 10 like you said, but now he's going to inherit the lead in front of a lot of fast cars.
One driver who is not a part of all of that exchange, but you do see out on track in front, is Steve Ritter. When we talked about him with our iRace at Midway race break, he's actually scored 10 laps down, which was 12 not all that long ago, so things are getting better for that team. But again, I think that it would be quite the feat to get those 10 laps back. But Steve Ritter, he'll stay out, refrain from pit service this time. Again, nowhere near having to come down to the pit lane to get anything sort of as far as fuel-wise to be able to make it. It was a relatively short stint. So he'll stay out. He goes from 11 laps down to 10 laps down. He'll get the wave by at the 1 to go, cycle back around with the rest of the field. But other than that, behind him, it is going to be the driver who made the 2-tire call in control of the field in Joshua Susie. And for a driver who started in 10th, another name that we really haven't talked all that much about tonight.
Yeah, we talked about him at the Midway race break. We've seen him race around some of the guys, but he's getting in front of the cameras now, getting a little bit of TV time here just past lap 100. 16 goes by the pace car. He's going to get that lap back, and he's going to keep it. You know, Evan, I think the 16's in a pretty good position. If we keep getting these quick cautions, he's going to be the first car a lap down. He's going to be guaranteed to get the lucky dog.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We only had, when we talked about him, one other driver 1 lap down. That driver's since gotten back onto the lead lap, so he is the only truck right now, first driver 1 lap down. Now, the problem is you have to get 10 yellows roughly to get 10 laps back, and the odds are if you get 10 yellows, there's going to be a handful of trucks in some way falling off of the lead lap. I think really Steve Ritter's best chance after the rough start that he had tonight is just kind of hoping a couple guys wreck out of this race, might be able to trickle up towards maybe a P20 result, depending on how the rest of this race plays out. We're going to have 104 laps complete. Joshua Susie, first time tonight in control, absolutely no hesitation. He's off and away for the race lead and leaves the battle for second behind. Jamie Walker from third up the bottom. Michael not giving it up though.
Comes that 87 around the outside of the 17. We've seen starting second is really one of the best places to restart if you're not the leader. He's ducking around that 81, trying to go around. He's going to use that outside lane to his advantage. Coming off of turn number 4, let's see who's going to lead it. 81 to the inside, 87 on the outside. It's going to be the 87 of Justin Michael leading lap number 105. And going to be a downward swing for that 81 maybe, as he's going to be caught by the rest of the field. Running in second right now, that 17. And Jamie Walker and the 27 are looking to pounce.
27 on the outside, too, may have an opportunity with Crowder, but Walker on the inside, you have to think in a better position. But Susie right now is Justin Michael's best friend. The longer he runs there, he's in the way.
14 of Herlo smacks the wall. Coming up. 17 almost around in turn number 2, but he's going to save it. Great save for Jamie Walker.
They split him 3 wide. 20 went top. It looked like the 68 of Scott Simley went to the bottom. And somehow it's not all that bad for Jamie Walker. He's still up there, but it was definitely a big blow to his fight in trying to get up to the front of the field. So now Ashton Crowder, the only driver left at a back bumper to Joshua Susi after all chaos broke out between turn 4 and 2 just one lap ago. And in the inside he goes, side by side for the number 2 position. Crowder hard charge up the inside off to turn number 3, and he should be able to get the spot, and he does.
81 Asusi drives back to the 3rd position, but still, Evan, if we get a quick caution here in the next couple laps and he doesn't lose that many positions, this is going to be a great strategy call for that 81 car. 87 of Justin Michael pulling out front. Really the largest lead we've seen all day, close to 1 second of Ashton Crowder. I think he can make it. I think he can catch that 81 or the 87. But that 87 is just so fast. Now that we've seen him in clean air, he's able to pull away.
And that's kind of what we've expected to see out of that 87. He has been in traffic a lot longer than really anybody else. I know we drew a comparison with Ashton Crowder, who was in P2, who started up front. Once he got back to even second, hasn't been able to get back to P1 since then. And yeah, the cautions have kind of plagued his ability to use a green flag stretch to do anything, but he has been stuck in traffic. Justin Michael, quite the opposite. Started mid-pack, in traffic, worked his way up front, and as you would expect, anybody struck handles better, but it's out in front of the field and off in clean air. But the question is he faster than Ashton Crowder? The last time by, he was 0.3 of a second slower than 27 after being able to get around. Joshua Susi is on the move. Joshua Susi is on the move, but it's still going backwards. Scott Howell and Scott Simley get a tag team on him and try to kick the 81 back to 5th. He falls to 4th as the 20 takes away 3rd. We'll see if Simley is able also to get the job done.
If the 68 is able to get around, it will be the highest we've seen him all day since he started the race. He started in the 3rd spot, but has steadily just fallen back through the field. But he's in the top 5 now, so he's peaking at the right time, Evan.
Yeah, late in these races, you can lead as many laps as you want, the opening 50, 75, and you might get yourself a most laps led bonus point out of it, but at the end, you want to be in victory lane. We've had 3 races. We've had 3 different winners. Well, Justin Michael is trying to make it back-to-back, but Ashton Crowder, a driver who has also gone to victory lane. He won 2 weeks ago at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I think is going to catch him before that 87 is able to get this one over with. Even if we go green, even if we have restarts, I think the 87 is going to have to go head-to-head with that 27 at some point before then.
Another 10th cut off of the lap that time. Lap number 113, it's down to half a second. Let's see what it's at this time. 27 just kisses the wall just a little bit. He cuts it down by 5/1000ths of a second. So it's starting to stabilize just a little bit here, Evan. That 27, he sure is pushing because he almost ended his race right there off of turn number 4.
This thing's starting to get dicey as the laps wind down. 114 laps now going to be complete of 156 this time off of the corner. The gap between the top 2 continues to dwindle down lap by lap, but the last time Justin Michael with a 1/10 of a second advantage opens it back up now. 0.6 of a second is a fairly good gap. You see the difference between the two. It's nothing that Justin Michael is going to feel too comfortable about, but it's enough that if he makes a very small mistake, he's able to correct. Once Ashton Crowder, I should say if Ashton Crowder gets to the back bumper, that's when the pressure really gets put on him. You can't graze the fence. You can't get a little bit sideways. You can't overdrive it down in 3 and 4. You can kiss that position goodbye, but it looks like these two are actually being able to pull away from everybody else. Scott Howell's 1.4 seconds back in 3rd and trying to catch up, but it might just come down to those two up front. At this moment, I think they have the best trucks.
Just going to have to see here because, Evan, we're inside 50 laps to go. It looks like that 27's reeling in just a little bit. Let's see what's going to happen. Pushes up just a little bit off the corner, but doesn't hit the wall this time. Let's see where it's at. Down to 0.4 of a second, so just kind of ebbs and flows, Evan. It's, lose time one lap, get it back the next, and the 27, bright side, he's making up more time than he is losing on the other lap. So he's down to 0.4 of a second, closing in on that 87, and Evan, for what seems like the first time tonight, we're going to have a lap car in front of the field.
Yeah, lap traffic hasn't been a thing tonight. I mean, you still have 24 of the 30 trucks that started this race on the lead lap, but we haven't seen a green flag stretch that has cycled all the way back around, and that's still not really the case here. You got Michael Warren, who's going to go a lap down if this stays green for our leaders to catch up to him. He is on the lead lap, so he will fall one lap down. That would be bad news for Steve Ritter's hopes of getting back into this one, but I think Ritter has called it quits because he's down pit road again and sitting in pit box down by turn number 1. But outside of Michael Warren, who has a heavily damaged truck and is off the pace, the next guy in the lead lap, Greg Mall, is 12 seconds behind your leader, so he's still within half a lap of the guy up front, nowhere near being lapped by Justin Michael. So I think once he's able to navigate around the 28, I don't think he's going to have to deal with anything else, and a nice move there by that 28 machine to stay up high and out of the way, and race leader Justin Michael going to put him a lap down.
The 27 is not going to be clear. He's going to be on the inside by the time they reach turn number 1, so a little bit upset line. So, you know, it did a little bit more than we thought it did. It upset that 27 Ashton Crowder's line just a little bit entering turn number 1. Let's see if he's able to make up that time again. 27 back. He was at 3.76 seconds that last time around. Looks like he's making that time back up.
Is there going to be somebody else who's able to join this conversation? Scott Simley, 2.4 seconds back. Jamie Walker, 3.4 seconds back. I think on any sort, even Aaron Bennett in P6, the 3's got a clean truck so far and has shown on some of these runs that he's got the speed to get the job done. He might even put up a fight for P5 here as he closes up to the back bumper of the 17 down the back straightaway. But I mean, you give these guys a handful of restarts, I think any of these 6 trucks could win this race. The problem for these other guys, and it's a problem that we really haven't had all night long, is they are running out of restarts. I mean, even if you get a yellow here, yellow there, you're running out of time. We're at lap 120 inside of the final 40 laps of this race. If they're going to get something going, it's got to happen now. And maybe if the guys up front go side by side for a little bit, maybe bring them back to them, that might be of their benefit, because Ashton Crowder back to the bumper, half a car length off into turn 3.
Well, I mean, even if we do get a caution, Evan, which we do, great timing on my part, but once we get a caution, now that we have it, once the restart comes, we got the 2 fastest cars in the field that are going to be starting on the front row, and we've seen second position is not that bad of a place to restart.
The caution flag back out as your race leader is able to catch back up to the pace car, and you saw all the smoke off in turn number 2 that time. So second time tonight we've seen the issue off in turn number 2. It was Steve Herring in the number 98 Chevy on the inside, just lost it. Coming up off of the corner, it looped it, and again, almost eerily identical to the only other spin we've seen tonight. That was off in turn number 2, and I'm not sure that I'm missing any when I say this, that Gabe, I think every single incident we've seen tonight has started from just one truck getting loose.
Yeah, and I don't think you can really loop the 28 into that category, you know, because it's like we said before. Whenever he went a lap down, he's got a very damaged race car, so I think it was just a ill handling car. But yeah, other than that, it's been all single car incidents that turn into a track getting clogged and a couple guys coming into each other. But yeah, and the one good thing, I'm not seeing much contact. But the one problem is, guys, they're not able to control their cars, you know, whether it's the track conditions or just the way the cars are set up. I don't know, Evan, but it's kind of ruined a really, really good race with the amount of cautions we've had.
The 87 adjusted Michael makes quick work of the trip down to the pit lane with everybody else, and he's got a fast truck. He's not trying anything on the strategy. 4 tires and fuel is going to be enough to keep him in front of the field. Inside of what'll be 30 laps to go when we go back at green flag conditions from the Phoenix International Raceway as we pace once again here tonight. We'll take a quick opportunity, toss a yellow of ourselves, step away and go LSRTV nonstop so you don't miss a moment of the action. Justin Michael trying to hang on for the win, and the Phoenix Fresh Fit 250 looking to go back to back. He's got a late race restart though due up next.
More than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you were there at the track. It was a great experience.
This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. Hard braking. This is the slowest part of the track.
And then I've done, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2. And then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something, which was, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, that speed.
And this is the corner of all corners here, the Swedenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. Then hard at it again, get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here.
It's almost exactly like the real thing. So, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, So, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
Back live at the Phoenix International Raceway as your race leaders are back off and away. Justin Michael in the 87. He's able to maintain the top spot off for the restart, but he has the same challenger, really, all over the back bumper. It's Ashton Crowder, but now the gap between two was erased. He's in P2 and only 0.2 of a second off. Jamie Walker, on the other hand, is going to have to hold off of a charge from Scott Simley. The 68 started in third. He's trying to get that spot back with a move on the outside.
17 is going to try and complete the pass coming into turn number 3 and treacherous turn number 4. Evan, I think we've finally gotten the opportunity to see what that 87 is like on a long green flag run. It wasn't really long, but it was good enough to where we could see some tire wear. And that 27 was really, really good once we got a few laps under our belt. So I think that 27, if we go green from now on, it may be the car to beat.
Oh, I said a restart here, restart there. I think any of these guys up front can put themselves in a real position to win this race. And I think that Scott Simley, Jamie Walker, Aaron Bennett have fast trucks. But if they keep playing for third, none of them are going to get an opportunity to battle for the top spot. As Walker clears him, he might have a chance, but he'll have to deal with another restart. Caution is out, and contact on the front stretch. Atkins was around, and the 12 Michigan Greg Ball wasn't able to check it up in time and tagged him. 2 trucks involved in that one. We'll take a look at a replay in a minute here at this one. Back off at turn number 4. This one, though, I think led from, if not contact, a lot of guys just running for real said it was. It was the 33 from behind, rather than the 93,
the 93
of Justin Kleber.
Yep,
on the outside. Not sure if he was really trying to make it 3 wide or if he was just trying to keep it high, but that truck, you saw the back end start to go around, and another scenario where if there was nobody else there, fine, spins it out to the inside, no problem. Just bad luck for the 88 of Atkins in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he was having a good night, trying to pick back up to get back to where he was earlier on in this one, and unfortunately, that one's probably really going to do him in for the rest of it.
You know what, Evan? The way the 93 was pointed toward the wall, I think for the first time tonight, we were going to see somebody save it coming off of turn number 4, but unfortunately, the 88 of Michael Atkins Jr. was there.
Yeah, and again, it's so tight coming off of the corner that you even saw with that, not even a 3 wide, but they were 3 abreast, if you will, not really door to door. And then, you come off of the corner, there's just not a lot of space. And a lot of that, and a lot of what we've seen tonight is somebody gets a little bit loose, and the guys who get the worst end of it, and as typical as it is in racing, while unfortunate as it is, it's true that normally the guys who really get beat up in races like this are the guys that are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's nothing they can do about it, and it's not like it's been specific people who continue to have the same issue over and over and over. I mean, everybody struggling with the handling, which is why it's so fun to watch the guys up front be able to have the exciting fights that we've seen from them tonight while still being able to keep it under control.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the top 3 really get out of shape except for the 17 really getting a little bit loose there under braking in turn number 1. But these guys, they've done a great job of keeping it under control. I think once we get to the end, we'll see these guys run a lot faster, run a lot more aggressive, and we'll see some mistakes out of them. They haven't really had to, be really aggressive at this point, or, at the points before this. The rest of the guys back in the pack, we've seen them. They've been running hard, like we saw right there, almost 3 wide, guys side by side, and they just overdrive it just a little bit, either on entry or on exit, and they end up spinning around. It's the nature of the beast, really. Once you're out front, you can really calm down and kind of run your own race, but once you're in the pack, you really want to get up front and get up fast, and that's what's causing some of these cautions.
Now a yellow takes about a quarter of what's left of this race out of this thing. This restart may be, with 22, 23 laps to go. You're probably going to get, based on what we've seen tonight, and if you look at trends, late races, you get a yellow inside of 20 to go. It's hard to go 20 green laps at the end of this because everybody's going to be all over each other, and especially at a place like Phoenix, I'd keep an eye on that dog leg at the back straightaway when we go back green here. I wouldn't be surprised if they're pushing this thing 4 and 5 trucks wide. So you have to think, if you're going to be honest and realistic in this as the lights go off in a pace car, that you're going to have a handful of these late race restarts. This is probably going to be one of, but not the single last restart in this race. So that being said, Justin Michael in the 87 is in the position that he wants to be in, and quite frankly, he's dictated the final half of this race, but you still got somebody like an Ashton Crowder who has been, I don't think, any lower than 3rd for much of this race, but has not been up front since the opening handful of laps. He wants to get back up there. Jamie Walker, who I said has a car that could go to victory lane, was back in 6th about 15 laps ago. He's right on the doorstep in 3rd. And then other names like Scott Simley, Joshua Susie, and Brian Cutt. So a lot of these guys going to have maybe 1-2 more shots at this thing. And they're all looking at a target that they've painted on the back bumper of the 87, and whether that is literally or figuratively, we'll find out just how physical they get. But a checkered flag is on the line. Justin Michael knows that he needs to get up and go. Green flag flies to the back underway. 23 laps to go when the Phoenix International Raceway and the 87 is off and away. Side by side, they'll go for 2nd. Crowder on the outside. Walker tries to get to the bottom, can't do it. The top 3, 4, and now 5 single file as they go back off into turns number 3 and 4. A battle a little bit deeper back inside of the top 10. Brian Harvey on the inside of Brian Cuts in a battle for P6. He will get that spot coming off of turn number 4. And now Michael Priester going to follow the 67 on the bottom. Try to get around the 04. Looks like Cuts not going to give things up in the 64. Slideways in a corner. He hangs on to it. Goes all the way down to the apron to do so. It's going to cost him a ton of time. But a spectacular save by Priester to avoid another incident. And he comes back up on track, and tight call with the 11 machine as he falls back to 17th in line. Somehow, after all of that, everybody still pointed the right direction.
Back up front, still the same gaps. We left you at the 87 out front, the 27 behind. Evan, I'm getting tired of saying that sentence, and 17 behind. I'm getting really tired.
I'm sure he is too.
Yeah.
He's tired of hearing it.
He's tired of seeing the back that back number plate that says 87. He wants to clear track in front of him. And I think he's got the car to do it, but the 87 has just been so good on the initial start, and then the 27 catches him after a few laps. The problem is the 27 is not getting the chances to do so, to get laps on the tires and get caught up, because we've been getting these quick cautions.
I think the biggest thing that you would obviously be concerned about if you're the 87 is a yellow, because you get yellows and then you have to go through the restart. And I think Justin Michael feels that the restarts are the things that, well, he's been so good at them so far, could be the thing where if he messes up one time, this thing's done with. On the other hand, I don't think Ashton Crowder wants another restart. He has to restart P2. The outside of the front row has not really been a great place to be here tonight on restarts. He wants this to go green, and I think kind of so does Justin Michael. So we'll see if the 87 is able to hold him off on speed here, and I kind of alluded to it there on the restart. We haven't seen these guys get too physical quite yet tonight. This one may just come down to that, though, because they're within a car length of each other.
Oh, 27 gets a run. Oh, he gets loose on the entrance to the dog leg there. Tries to cut it down, I think, just to get to the inside, and he ends up loosening his back end just a little bit. And that's going to open up the gap between the 87 and the 27. That is unfortunate. I thought we were about to see the beginning of a great battle for the lead.
Yeah, he got to the bumper,
and we'll see it,
he tried to keep it on the gas. He got sideways. Caution is back out. This one is off in 3 and 4. And it looks like it is the 4 Chevrolet of Robert Gillenwater turned around in the corner, and it looked like that one was a little bit of an unassisted spin as he sent it off into turn number 3. It looked like he just went in there way too hot on the dog leg there, drove it up to the top, and the truck just slid all the way through the corner, and I think he just missed his mark on that one.
Gonna get another restart here, Evan. Like you said, I don't know how many the 87 can do and pull off. Just restarting over and over, hitting the marks correctly, making guys behind him wonder where he's going to restart. Is he going to go right off the pace car's entrance, or is he going to restart off the lights and the flagman's green flag? And eventually you run out of options, and you just kind of have to repeat the same motions over and over. And eventually somebody's going to get it right.
Yeah, he could only keep him guessing for so many times, and it's kind of a toss-up. We'll see what they do on pit strategy here. The 27 looks committed. Justin Michael doesn't want to, and Crowder jumps out at the last second. So does Susie, so does Harvey, Jamie Walker, Brian Cutts. Going to come down to the pit lane. Those are going to be the only 2 from inside of the top 9 who decide to come down pit road. And that 27 was so far below the yellow line, Gabe, it looked like he was committed to coming down pit road. I think he was that low on purpose to convince Justin Michael that he wanted to pit, and once Michael stayed out, I think evidently Crowder did what he wanted to do, and that was stay out, but I think he tried to drag him down there. He almost got him to come down to the pit lane, and then a last-second dive again by Susie. That's the second time tonight we've seen somebody cut it nice and tight with those barrels.
Evan, I think we're seeing a little bit of a trend. The only time we've seen guys stay out on old tires is the front 2 cars. I think once that person behind the leader, whether it's been Herlo, whether it's been Crowder, whether it's been Michael, they want to be on the same strategy as the car they've been racing with. They could care less about the cars that are racing behind them. They know who they're competing with, and if they stay on the same strategy, there's no way that person in front of them or behind them can get a different strategy and can get on a different rotation of tires and get an advantage. They want to stay equal with the car in front of them.
This one may be right on the cusp of, if not, at 10 laps to go in this race. And with that, do want to remind you, as always, that if a caution comes out in these races with less than 5 laps left to go, this race is over with. It is official. There is no overtime. And the iRacing service scheduled distance tonight, 156 laps. That will be when the white flag comes out, regardless of what happens. So, quick yellow might get you the opportunity for a restart later on in this one at 3 or 4 laps to go. But if we go a handful of laps, say get down to 3 laps left in this, and a yellow comes out, this thing is over with. So, Justin DeMichael knows that this may be the restart for all the marbles.
Yep, all he's going to be worried about, Evan, is getting out front on this restart and staying there. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of racing, but he wants to get, like you said, to that 5 laps to go mark. Caution comes out, no matter when they pass that start-finish line right there. 5 laps to go, caution comes out, race is over with. It's basically like winning the race on the last lap. That 87, he has to nail this restart. And like I said earlier, there's only so many different times you can restart and keep guys second guessing. Evan, look who is running in third. The 81 of Joshua Susie stayed out on old tires earlier. I don't know what kind of pit strategy he's called. And the rest of the field, really, we got Herlo, the 67 of Brian Harvey. I didn't even notice that. A lot of guys that we haven't talked about all night are up here battling for basically what is the win.
Yeah, and this may be it to decide it. Who knows? And I talked about, did the guys up front get a physical? Being in third might not be a bad bet if you're hanging out behind these two, depending on how this one shakes out. 145 laps complete. There's only 11 laps to go. And the Phoenix Fresh Fit 250 American Ethanol green flag. A great jump. One of the best we've seen all night by the 27 on the outside. Side by side for the race lead in turn 1. Justin Michael's going to hang on, but Ashton Crowder keeps him honest at a truck length back.
They're going to be close to 4 wide. They're back in the pack, but that 87 is going to be out front in clean air. Let's see if he can hang on to it. Evan, we're closing in on that 5 lap to go mark. All he has to do is stay out front. That 27 is going to try and take it away from him. Guys racing hard for that top 10 position. Looks like Brian Harvey is going to settle into that 6th position. Curlo is doing a really good job in 4th, and Joshua Saucy in that 3rd position. Or Susie, sorry. Joshua Susie in that 81 machine. He's settling into 3rd. He's going to come out of here in Phoenix with a very good finish.
Yeah, a lot of guys have gone up and down the ladder tonight. Did want to give a call to Brian Cutts. He's 3 wide right now, but is up 16 positions from where he started. Scott Howell, though, with a beautiful move, picked up 4 spots on that lap alone to take over the number 9 spot. Look at the 20 go on those fresh tires to the back bumper of Scott Simley. He may not be done with this thing quite yet.
Going to try that outside lane. He's going to arc it into the corner, see if he can get the crossover. I thought he was going to pull low on the 68 out of turn number 4, but he's going to go to the outside. Let's see if he can pull it off. He's going to pull even with him as they go into turn number 1, closing in on the finish. Evan, this is going to get exciting, not just for the win, but for the race for the top 10 and the entire race, or the entire field.
How about some more 3 wide? Brian Harvey lost a lot of speed at a 2. He loses 2 positions as both Simley and the 20 of Scott Howell get on by him, and it drops Brian Harvey back into the number 9 spot. Meanwhile, side by side for 3rd, Susie coming up on the outside of the racetrack, trying to get around Aaron Bennett, but they're going to go side by side in front of them for the race lead. The 87 defensive line on the top, but Ashton Crowder's got a nose to the bottom. Can't make it stick that time as the 87 drives it off hard into turn number 3 and shuts the door on him.
Nose to tail as they come inside. 5 laps to go. Evan, 27 gets loose and saves it. But that is going to be what looks like might be, Evan, the mistake that cost Ashton Crowder the win. Maybe he has enough time to catch up with the 87. He's going to make a run at it again. Evan, this might not be over with. I may have spoken too soon, because that 87 is getting reeled in yet again by that 27, Ashton Crowder.
I think that may have been his best opportunity to do something, because now if he gets to him, he's just going to have to make a bum rush move. He's not going to have much other time to set it up and make it look pretty. But it was a hard drive. You could tell that he was going for it, broke sideways, and he's off by about 0.2 of a second. There was 5 laps to go that last time around from Phoenix International Raceway, now inside of the do-or-die portions of this race. That yellow flag would end it. Crushed the hopes of Ashton Crowder. That side-by-side fight for 3rd behind did go in favor of Aaron Bennett. He was able to get around Joshua Susie, who has fallen back to the 4th position. But they're not a part of this fight. They're over 1 second back at the moment. Bennett may be able to play in it if he's in 3rd position and the top 2 fight, but at the moment, you have to look at Justin Michael and Ashton Crowder, the 27. Well, he's been able to stay there, Gabe. He didn't make anything up the last 2 laps. He's still that 1.5 truck length deficit.
See if he can do anything here, Evan, closing in on the finish of this race. He's going to dive it down into turn number 1. Heavy braking. Going to stick it there on the apron. That yellow line. Use the apron to turn his car. He's going to make up just a little bit of time. Evan down 1/10 that lap. Let's see if he can do anything. He's catching him. Evan, this may not be over with. We're going to come to 2 to go this time.
It'll be 2 laps left to go in this race from Phoenix at Ashton Crowder. He's going to make this one fun. Half a truck length off at the start-finish line. Aaron Bennett hasn't been able to make up any additional time. He's still a second off at the top spot. He just gets a front row seat at the action. Penultimate time down the back. Crowder not giving up.
Going into turn number 3, 4, like you said, at penultimate time, 2 laps to go. Gonna put the bumper to him. It's a little shove. One more again coming out of turn number 4, trying to loosen him up. But the 87 of Justin Michael stands tall and stands fast, because here we go, Evan. 1 lap to go, and the 87's out front.
The first shot didn't do it, neither did the second, but you know what they say, third time's a charm. It's going to come down to the final quarter here tonight from Phoenix International Raceway. Crowder going to drive it in hard. He looks to the bumper, gives a shot to Justin Michael to try to move the 87 up, and he'll go to the bottom, side by side off the corner, but he can't make it. He'll turn him into the inside fence goes Justin Michael, and Ashton Crowder dumps him off of the final corner and steals the win from Phoenix. Wow.
Oh, that will not go over well in the 87 pit. Hard hit for him after the checkered flag as he crossed the start-finish line.
And it's obvious that race control is going to take a look at that one, but you saw it coming up in the corner. That's what fans like to see here and there. And by the way, Aaron Bennett scored in P2, Justin Michael being scored in 3rd in what is most definitely going to be your unofficial results. But I'll tell you what, it's been a while since I've seen someone get turned for a race win in the final quarter, and these guys were going at it. And again, he gave the shot into the corner, Gabe, trying to move the 87 up the hill, and it worked. He got to the bottom, but it wasn't going to stick on him, and it came off of the corner, and the 87 was there, and it's kind of tough to tell if the 27 was just trying to keep it on the inside. But I think at that point, he made a conscious decision that I'm not going to win this race if I don't do something. And, maybe he meant to loosen him up and you take the rod on board with him and get a good look at that one. But, I mean, it's kind of hard to word it any other way than just saying he turned him. He dumped him off of the final corner. He is your unofficial winner. That one's going to go to the tower. Whatever result this comes out with, you cannot deny, Gabe, that was a hell of a finish.
Oh, yeah. I think the 27, he was expecting with 2 to go. He made that same exact move, bumped him going into 3, and as they caught back up in turn number 4, as they slowed down to make what is basically that second corner, he hit him again. Well, this time the 87, he loosened him up this time, and he was a little bit higher. He was not able to get back to the bumper, and it just coming off of the corner, that 87 was going to take the checkered flag as your winner, and the 27 just made a decision. Like you said, I'm not going to lose this race, and I'd have to say flat turned him.
We'll wait to see what result comes down from the tower, but it is Ashton Crowder who is parked on the front straightaway as your unofficial winner tonight from Phoenix International Raceway. If it holds, it'll be a second on the year. And the interesting thing is it was him and Justin Michael, Gabe, as we noted, the two drivers who have wins this year. Justin Michael won 1 week ago at Las Vegas, and it was Ashton Crowder who won 2 weeks ago at Atlanta. Well, because Justin Michael got turned off of the final quarter and came home 3rd, I believe if any penalty comes down, Aaron Bennett is going to end up in victory lane. We'll get you the update on what happens in this one on the other side. We don't know who it is, but we will be talking with your race winner when we return to the Phoenix International Raceway. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 Upstate United Racing, BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series on iRacing Live. We'll find out who awaits us in Gatorade Victory Lane on the other side.
So obviously you guys have come from the virtual world to reality. What do you think about a sim racer coming in the real world? What were your expectations coming in?
Coming from iRacing, a computer program basically down here to a real world scenario where you got all these guys with all these years and years and years and years of experience that are also using iRacing as a tool to come out and run against those guys and beat them and finish ahead of them and show them, there's a thing or two you might be missing is fantastic. That's a skill that I know I don't have, and I can appreciate it because I'm terrible at iRacing.
Glenn was able to come into the team. We did a lot of preseason testing, actually a full season's worth of testing before we even started the season. And he came in, there was a lot of sectors that he was the fastest guy out of our team. And Sparky and I looking at data, trying to catch up to him through some turns, and And of course, you know, some places Sparky will be the fastest or I'll be the fastest, and Glenn is able to learn from, you know, what we're doing, and vice versa. So it was excellent to see his pace right off of the bat, and speed was never a worry. You know, it's about qualifying well. Qualifying is very difficult, you know, and pretty important in this series. And so is, you know, being able to make effective passes without contact. It's very difficult to pass in these cars, so, you know, it's not easy being here.
I think the level of ultra competitiveness in here, where when normally when you make a pass, you're making a pass with 2 cars involved. But if we're making a pass in this series, you have to remember there's 5 cars waiting behind you. If you mess up that pass, they're going by you.
Yeah, it's like sharks.
Yeah, you're surrounded by sharks. But no, it's been I've been very surprised and very pleased with it. And obviously, I have the 2 champions I'm sitting between. John actually statistically is the most successful MX-5 Cup driver in the world. He owns every record that you would want, none of the bad records.
Maybe some of them, I don't know.
Maybe some of those. And Sparky's one of the quickest guys in the paddock, and you know, obviously the champion now. So I couldn't have picked a better team to be with 6 Sideways. I'm looking at what everybody in the paddock calls gold. I mean, they will pay to look at John and Sparky's data, and I get full access to it. And I get to see where I'm doing well and see where I can improve. And I've been really pleased with my progress.
You know, the straights are unbelievably long. The first time you come here, everyone tells you, you know, you'll be flat out 6th gear for 20 seconds. First time I was here, I lifted halfway down the straight. I didn't believe that it was still going. I was waiting to brake, and I was back on the power. And the Porsche curves are extremely fast and extremely narrow, so it's a tricky track. And, you know, every year I've come here, you learn something new every time.
Le Mans is so fast. Wherever you accelerate, you are over 150 miles per hour. Going there, I realized everything you have done before was nothing.
It was more than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you were there at the track. It was a great experience.
This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. Hard braking. This is the slowest part of the track. And then I've done, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2. And then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something, which was, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, that speed. And this is the corner of all corners here, the Schwedenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. And then hard at it again, get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here.
It's almost exactly like the real thing. So, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, So, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
Welcome back live to the Phoenix International Raceway, and not only does this race bring us one of the most thrilling finishes we've seen in quite some time, but you will not believe what the photo finish camera ends up being on this one. We'll give you a rundown top to bottom on your results in just a moment, but when we left you, the scoring was showing Ashton Crowder as your race winner unofficially, Aaron Bennett in second, and Justin Michael in third. Upon review by race control, the 27 has been penalized, and he is not going to win this race. However, that would then mean that you looked at the next two spots on the scoring pile, and it would tell you that Aaron Bennett is your winner. Upon a photo review of that, you take a look. They've got the scoring box on these cars where the time it is scoring is on the front. So the 87 crossed the line backwards. His nose was therefore well behind the nose of the three of Aaron Bennett. But you see on that shot right there, Justin Michael backed across the line first, therefore was technically second, and therefore is your race winner here tonight from the Phoenix International Raceway. And I'm trackside with the driver who, after all of that, somehow ends up in victory lane. And Justin, you got to be excited because not only, I guess, do you think you were going to win this race, that you had a truck that could win this race, and quite honestly, you guys dominated the second half, but if you eliminate those 5 seconds between turn 4 and the start-finish line, where I'm sure you had some sort of a mix of heartbreak and frustration, you were scored third at that moment. You're our race winner here tonight, following a review of the contact and a review of the battle for second position, so it's been an eventful final 5 minutes here for you.
Yeah, I tell you, a lot of stuff happened that last turn, but I don't like to protest stuff, but I was going to protest that because I knew I was ahead of him at least by 2 inches. So, and I know you guys were showing it right, or at least you were showing it on the broadcast there. But it was a really good race. Few incidents, but for the most part, it was pretty clean.
In that late race battle, you were going head-to-head with a couple of guys, not just Ashton there late, but it seemed like the restarts, which, typically is something that, the guy up front doesn't want to see because it means that you give yourself another opportunity to make a mistake. It almost seemed like that was helping you in a way because those guys were able to get to you on a long run. If you look at the course tonight, we really didn't have a lot of long runs, and that last one, he got every opportunity, a couple of shots to the bumper, and eventually the contact coming off of the corner. But, how was that 87 machine? Because despite the fact you guys started 17th, you're probably one of the drivers we talked about for the better portion of the night.
I mean, we were pretty good. Just like you said, we were pretty much junk on the really long runs, but the short runs were pretty good. But just the way I guess the gearing is here, you can really jump out ahead if you're the leader, and it can just slowly reel you back in. We qualified real bad. I think we started something like 17th or 18th. So, and whatever issues that we were having, I was able to pass about half the field before the green flag. So. It was. I mean, in the end, it was a good night, and everybody up front was racing pretty clean, and Ashton and Aaron, and Aaron came on at the end there. I didn't think he was as strong as I thought he was, but everybody raced pretty good up front though.
So it was going to be a battle between you two as far as who was going to be the first driver to get multiple trips to victory lane. Ashton got a win at Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. You were the winner as of 1 week ago in Las Vegas. So I know the season's still young. I know we still have 16 races until we make a cut for a championship in the chase. And we noted that at the top of the show that it's fun to watch these races. They're critical when it comes to points, but we've got plenty of time to get there. 4 races in, you guys got half the wins in the first driver to multiple trips to victory lane. I know that despite the fact that it's early and there's a long way to go, that just has to feel good for you guys, though.
It definitely feels good. I mean, we got junked at Atlanta over a somebody pitting and coming up in the middle of the track, so we finished in the very back there. Didn't too hot at Daytona, so Vegas in here was pretty definitely motivation, but I really don't like. I'm not a big fan of this track. I usually don't run well, so I'll almost consider this lucky to win this race.
Coming up next on the calendar, we head to a much bigger track for the 5th race on the year from the Auto Club Speedway. What are the thoughts going into that one?
I really like Auto Club. We usually run up front there and really good at saving tires there. So, and usually we get really long green flag runs there because of how wide it is. So it should be a fun race, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again next.
The winner tonight from Phoenix. Before we let you go, Justin, the sponsors, the shout-outs, anybody that you want to give a call to before we let you take off?
I put AR15.com on the truck again tonight, so a sponsor I used to run a long time ago. I'm going back to that, and everybody who's watching my stream, twitch.tv/SimTV. So thanks, everybody, for watching.
I know they got an exciting look at that finish there. Justin, congratulations. 5 minutes ago, it wasn't looking too good for you, but in the end, you're going to end up on the top of the board tonight. You're back-to-back winner, and hopefully for you guys, you have an equally as fast truck next week, but a little bit of a less eventful finish there. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, man.
Justin Michael gets the job done tonight. Again, if you stepped away for the computer after that finish, he was shown 3rd on the scoring pylon. He is your winner upon 2 post-race reviews. So after all of that, the driver who thought he was 2nd, Gabe, and then thought he had won, eventually in the end ended up exactly where he was before, and that's a P2 finish tonight for Aaron Bennett. Another strong result, but just shy of putting himself in victory lane for the first time.
Down here on pit road with the 33 of Aaron Bennett, started the last lap of the night, lap number 156 in 3rd, came across the line in 2nd, for a moment was declared the winner, and at the last second, a review of the finish puts him back into the position that he was, like you said. Aaron, how does it feel to be known as the man who lost by a bumper?
Rear bumper. You got to get it right. Rear bumper.
the rear bumper.
No, it's just crazy finish, man. I had a feeling that was going to come on the last lap there, but racing's racing, and the way our rules are written at USR, there's nothing, or road at USR, there's really nothing we could do. And me being part of the admin team, you can't. It was a bump and run going bad. It happens. But anyway, it was a decent night. I've had my share of up and downs tonight, but losing by a rear bumper, I don't know, it's going to sting a little bit, especially to Justin. He beat me last week.
Yeah, like you said, as a part of the admin team, it's kind of hard not to be biased because you want to win, but you also don't want to be unfair to the guys who really look up to you and look up to you for the rules. And how hard was it to finally declare, you wanted to win, but according to the picture that we have up on the race broadcast now that everybody's seen it, unfortunately, you in fact did finish 2nd behind the 87.
It's funny you said that. I had not seen that picture because I was too busy dealing with the aftermath of what happened that caused the 87 to be backwards coming to the stripe. I hadn't seen the picture yet. Justin messaged me. He says, "I beat you," and he sent me a picture of it, and I said, "Oh, he beat me." I think the reason why it shows him third in iRacing is because his front bumper is, behind. You know what I mean? It's backwards, but I don't know.
That's what we were discussing. That's what we were talking about. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. It happens like that, I guess. But I had no problem doing it. Hey, he crossed the line first, whether it was his rear end or his front end. He beat me to the line fair and square, and I raced him all race. I raced 27 all race. They all raced clean. They raced me clean all race. So I expect the same from them coming forward. And it was a good race, and I hope there's no hard feelings towards Ashton. He ran a good race. He did what he had to do. It was a bump and run turned bad. Just sucks. I hate to be in those predicaments, especially as an admin too. I don't know. Words can't describe it.
One more thing before we let you go. We saw a lot of guys have handling trouble, especially coming off of turn number 4. Did you have anything like that? Like the car just kind of snapping loose and doing a lazy spin down the front straightaway. Did you ever have to deal with anything like that?
No, not too much. I had one scare in the mid part of the race. I was tracking down the 87, and then I got real loose. I got it coming at a 2 instead of 4. 2 was more loose than 4, I thought. But everybody drives it different. It gets a different feeling for the racetrack. So, and hey, anything's possible, I guess. But it was a little on the edgy side, especially after about 15, 20 laps. It'll just step out, no warning.
All right, Aaron. Before we let you go, any sponsors? I know you're carrying the race sponsor here tonight at Phoenix on the hood of that Chevrolet Silverado. You got to thank them and thank anybody else on the car.
Yeah, I thank my business partner and Garrett Casal for letting us sponsor this, and thank all the admin team who did a good job. Cody Gibson is absent tonight. Thank the admin team. Cody, myself, Seth Fowdy, and Robert Gillenwater. We acted swiftly and we did call the race as we deemed fit. So. That's pretty much all I got to thank. All my teammates over at Young Gun Motorsports, Greg, Jamie, George wasn't here tonight. It was a good night we were all running up at the front for the most part. Greg had some tough luck there, so just racing.
All right, Aaron, you go celebrate an almost win and a second place finish here at Phoenix. We're going to talk to the man that technically finished behind you, the 81 of Joshua Susi. All right, I'm going to move just a few feet to my right here. I got the 81 of Joshua Susi here down here on pit road. Up and down night, pulled some pit strategy, took no tires a couple of times, and now is standing here with me. And after a third place finish, Joshua, it had to be a crazy night with all the guys spinning out and all the cautions and having to stay out and take the lead. And you ended up doing really, really well on old tires.
You're telling me, man. It was a battle for sure. Especially when I got into trouble earlier, racing the 64, got loose and banged up the truck a little bit. I knew I had to pull some magic out and hope for a couple miracles, and track position is key. Once I figured out the truck wasn't too far off the pace, I needed that track position.
Now, I got to ask, you had a pretty decent view of what happened in front of you. What do you think about what happened between the 27 and the 87?
Oh, man, that's tough. It's real hard racing, and I just got to say, I guess I'm glad I'm not an admin and have to make a call on that. The end result, I'm really happy I get my first interview with you guys. It's been a long time coming, but I certainly wouldn't want to be in their shoes trying to make a call on that.
Yeah, and I asked Aaron Bennett the same question just a second ago. We had handling problems all night, especially off of turn number 4. Did you have the same type of issues? I know you had a little bit of damage early in the race, but did that affect your car, and did you have trouble getting off of turn number 4 at any point?
I'd say beginning of the race, there was a little snappy, but it felt like as the race went on and more rubber was put down, it tightened up a little bit better, and then, I got that damage, and it took just a little bit of horsepower off, so that also helped with the exit of the corner, so it wasn't too big of a struggle from about the halfway point on.
All right, Josh, well, finishing third, you get on the podium, the bottom step of the podium behind one of the faster cars in the field tonight, and a guy who really pulled it out of his hat there in the end, but you also did the same with the pit strategy. Congratulations to you and the rest of your team. Any sponsors you want to thank with your first time being on LSRTV in the interview room.
Yeah, man. I just want to give a huge shout out to the 185th ESC. That's actually the unit I'm in. Guys are my brothers in arms, so big shout out to them. James Nunn and Todd Kirkwood and our newly minted formed underfunded racing that just came before this race. We're kind of mid-pack to backpack, and we feel like we're the underfunded guys, so why not band together and have some fun? I want to thank you guys for broadcasting. You guys always do an awesome job, and everyone in this league that shows up every week. I wish all the best of luck next week, as unfortunately I won't be available.
All right, congratulations on your third place finish. A great way to start a brand new race team, if they're underfunded or not. But you guys, it looks like you got a good little foundation, especially here at the short tracks, and hopefully you get onto the intermediate tracks and super speedways and have good runs there. Congratulations. And now it's time to wrap up the night. And back to Evan.
Yeah, this was quite the night. I think that even if we ignore the whole penalty after the fact and then the video review for second, that's actually for third, I think that two aspects to this race came, though. I think regardless, everything together, it was an exciting finish. But everything that happened, the fact that the guy who wins the race was leading with 200 feet left to go and was scored in third, and he actually wins by the back bumper on a video review, that's got to be the single craziest finish when you look at everything together that I have ever seen. And we've seen some wild stuff. We have seen a handful of finishes here come down to the less than 1/10,000th of a second bracket. But you look at the picture of the what happened to be the photo finish for P2 tonight, and then on top of that, you had the fact that guy got dumped in the final quarter. That's a picture that we're going to pull up here a lot of the time here moving forward. I don't think you're ever going to see anything like that again. That was wild.
Yeah, I think it's a fun night at the racetrack whenever you have to wheel the car into victory lane in pieces.
Yeah, you can't complain about that if you're Justin Michael, though. He got the job done, and again, that had everything we thought it would be. The late race restarts. He was, 25 feet in the air after the finish and wrecking onto the pit lane, and next thing you know, he's the race winner in this one. On top of that, it's his second win on the season, and it was just a wild night. I think wild is really the only accurate word we could use to describe it, and maybe not to this extent, but we see good stuff every single Saturday night here on LSR TV, and no doubt, Gabe, that's going to continue into the next race. A completely different animal, though, when we talk about Fontana going from 1 mile to a 2 mile track.
Yeah, it's very different, but it's going to stay the same, the amount of competitiveness throughout the field. And one thing you got to look for, Evan, next week, the same thing as this week. That number turn 4 wall. It's going to jump at it, guys. Here, it was guys getting loose. At California next week, it's going to be guys getting tight off of turn number 4. I can't tell you how many races I've seen ruined by that exit of that corner.
If you don't want to have to wait until next Saturday night to find us back here on iRacing Live, we've got a couple of things coming up over the course of the next few days. We've got Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series action this coming Monday at 9:30 Eastern Time. Also going to be on the air at 9:30 Eastern this coming Thursday for the Upstate Racing League, and we'll be back here next Saturday for more United Sim Racing Truck Series action. You can find a full and extended broadcast schedule online on our website at www.livesimracing.com. TV, and you could also stay up to date with us. And if you want a second look at that finish, I'm sure you can find it on our social media. You can give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/LiveSimRacingTV, and you could also give us a follow on Twitter at LSRTV. But until next time, that does it here tonight from Avondale, Arizona, in a wild one. But to congratulate Justin Michael as your race winner on behalf of the entire team at LSRTV LLC. For the crew behind the scenes and for the crew topside tonight, for our producer Cisco Scaramuza, for Gabe Wood and myself, Evan Pasoko, we bid you a good night from the Phoenix International Raceway. We will see you next time from California in 1 week's time.